everyone. Welcome to the Felicity Optimist versus Cynic podcast with us, your hosts, Melissa and Fish. This is a Felicity rewatch podcast. We'll watch an episode each week and join you here to talk about it. And just a reminder, the reminder we always give, but boy, we're deep in the thick of it now, is there's a chance that we could talk about things that actually come up in future episodes of the show. So if you haven't seen the whole show and you're averse to spoilers, just beware. I'm Melissa, and I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Fish. Fish, how are you doing today?
I am good today. We have another holiday-themed episode, and by holiday-themed, I mean we saw some decorations and the mention of Christmas.
Yeah.
So, the last one became a little tense. Let's see what happens in this one.
Yeah, you raise a good point there. I think, just because the nature of this show, with it being a show about people in college, and, very often people are going away from school for college, going back to either home or someplace they want to be for the holidays. So we generally don't get like a true holidays episode. We get Thanksgiving episodes, and they just kind of do this when it gets to the end of the semester. But this episode is season 2, episode 9. This one's called Portraits. It originally aired December 19th, 1999. It was written by Jed Seidel and directed by Lawrence Trilling, a name we've seen many times. Here's the episode description. Felicity is having weird dreams about Noel that make her realize she wants him back, but she also doesn't want to jeopardize his budding relationship with Ruby. Meanwhile, Julie gets an offer for a demo deal from a record label executive who Sean believes just wants to get her into bed. And Ben agonizes over his English literature final. American literature. That's okay.
Also, Julie didn't get the demo deal. He's only thinking about giving her a demo deal.
Well, sometimes the people who write the descriptions don't watch the episode, okay, Fish? All right? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, we have established this.
Yeah. It's not the biggest grievance we've had with an episode description, but at least they mention most of the people in it, which is good. So where do you want to start, Fish? I feel like it's not quite a totally clean slate from where we were. It's not like exactly starting from scratch, but in some ways it feels like it is.
Yeah, and I feel like it's continuing to be kind of this two camps of the show. Mm-hmm. You've got Felicity, Noel, Elena, and then you've got Sean, Julie, Ben, and they're not really interacting, which is, I don't know, it's a little
like
weird.
That forever, yeah, but it is like that now.
It feels weird, but I guess we can follow one of those two. I think the main one was supposed to be Felicity and Noel, but I think I actually enjoyed the Sean, Julie, and Ben stuff more. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to go with either one.
All right. Well, let's start with the Loft crew, shall we?
All right.
Yeah. And you're right. I think that the Felicity Noel stuff was really the main stuff, but there are some threads that we can pull here for the people from the Loft. And I'm just kind of scanning through my notes to see the very first time we actually see any of those characters, which is probably when Sean is on the phone.
Yes. So Sean, they're in the Loft, and it's just Sean and Julie. Mm-hmm. And they scan across the Loft, and you see all the decorations in those kind of amazing shelves in the background. And I just noticed there's this big Hanukkah right there. Mm. And I'm trying to figure out who's Jewish.
So at this point in the story, they're not really talking about that, but I will say, and this is a spoiler, we're going to get more in season 1. Sean had like almost no plot line of his own, and he, added sort of local color to the loft, and he had a dynamic going with Ben, and we're getting a little bit more from him this year, but we're going to get increasingly more as each season goes on. And one of the storylines that Sean is going to get later is really like embracing Judaism. I don't know
So,
that it's converting to Judaism, but I think he's like taking it seriously for the first time.
okay. So maybe he just had that around because, like, he is Jewish and, like, someone who maybe doesn't go to church still has a Christmas tree, that kind of thing.
Yeah, probably something like that. They're certainly not developing that aspect of him here, but I know you were wondering who in the loft is Jewish, and if I'm going to pick any of them, I'm going to say it's Sean, even
Okay,
though he's not really practicing his religion.
got it. All right. Well, he is, as you said, on the phone with a potential distributor for Smoothaise. Somebody tasted it and like freaked out, like
At
freaking
Maggie's
loved it.
party, something good maybe came,
I
maybe,
mean,
from Maggie's party. Yeah, it's a guy that he's marked as a possible investor who's thinking about distributing Smoothies to restaurant chains. Sounds sounds pretty serious. Sounds like
mhm,
a real business discussion on the table here. He's pumped. When we
he
open up
is.
on Sean, he is excited.
He is excited, and Julie is very supportive, and she says that's so great. And it reminds her, hey, I'm going to buy you a drink. Come down to Epstein Bar. I'm playing there. I'm excited. There might be some music people. Like, both of them have opportunities.
Yeah, they're really thinking about career paths, or they're thinking about, I don't know. I don't know what this is for Julie. She's serious about her music, and so she's working to get, record labels to hear her sing. And it's open mic night, Epstein Bar, and she's really trying to get people to this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you know, at this point, we haven't seen all the times that she's been to open mics at Epstein Bar, but even if we just take the fact that she had at one point a giant poster in her room from Epstein Bar that showed she was headlining at open mic night. Um, they take her seriously around there. They appreciate having her do sets, and yeah, so this is the next step.
Who's not worried about his career prospects?
I'm gonna say Ben.
Yeah, Ben. Ben is kind of single-minded in this moment and this episode. He
Mm-hmm.
really only has one purpose in the
Yes.
entire episode,
Which is
which is,
fair. Somebody has to do schoolwork. Somebody in this whole
yeah.
cast has to do schoolwork. Thank goodness we started getting a few of these people back into a classroom. Oh my goodness. You would think that they never had classes or any work to do. But yeah, Ben does. And it's really catching up with him because he probably wasn't doing the work that whole time he
Probably
was
not.
with Maggie.
Nope. Nope.
So yeah, his American
So
Lit final being due in a couple days is really sneaking up on him here.
yeah, and he's got his purpose in the story. So I've
Mm-hmm.
got to do this paper.
Mm-hmm.
Then he has his purpose kind of as the actor in the episode, which is really just to know what a funny moment is and to have some great physicality around it. His timing and everything is wonderful. So he just, you know, in the middle of their discussion, Ben walks into the loft, just straight past Sean and Julie, like not interested in looking at them or talking to them, and just slams his door. Just
I
slams
described
it.
this as Ben blows in angrily.
Yes, he
He
does.
really does. Scott Speedman he's a really good comedic actor. He has
He
great
really.
comedic timing. And what I find especially funny about it is that there are many, many reports of how he just whispered all the time. And people who were in scenes with him were like, what is he saying? And So to see the contrast, because he certainly does that a lot in scenes that we can see as the viewer, but then to see it contrasted with these moments of like sort of explosive physicality, that's just, I don't know, it's just funny.
He is. He's just, I don't, I can't explain it, but when he gets into funny mode, it's just everything about him, from the way he walks to, his timing with, he then comes out of the room and he's like, I have this paper due, so that's why I slammed the door, and it's why I'm going to slam the door again. And he turns around and he walks away. He slams the door again.
And
Like,
Sean and Julie are just sitting there on the couch and they're like, okay, all right,
yeah,
yeah,
that
all right.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
They're just there to, they understand that I thought it was a moment of great maturity on all parts. Ben needed to blow off some steam. He
Mhm.
acknowledged that it might be rude to his roommates. He came out right away. He apologized to them. They received it. They understood, I need to hold space for Ben here. Ben said, I'm doing it again. Hold space one more time. He blows back into his room again, slam on the door, and everybody, there was good communication here.
Yeah. As you said last time, they're really settling in to their sort of roommate roles, and understanding each other, and becoming sort of a mini family. And this is just what you do for family. You allow them to slam doors.
Mm-hmm. And I think we've pretty well set up now, even in this one little bit, what the point is for all of them in this episode. Sean working on the Smoothaise investor, Julie trying to get a record label to listen to her at Epstein Bar, and Ben somehow needs to accomplish his American Life final due in a couple days.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. But it's worth the ride.
Sure is. Sure is. And it's going to be a little while before we catch up with them again. But I believe the next time we do is at Julie's open mic.
It is. Yeah,
And
she's on stage singing, gorgeous voice, that 90s style. She's got some Sarah McLachlan lilt to her voice, but she's also kind of her own. And it's unsurprising, I think, that someone from A&R Pop Records would be interested.
yeah, A&R Pop Rocks Records. Well,
Pop Rocks.
and just a little footnote here, Julie is singing once again the song that she sang in one of the episodes with Carol.
Yes.
Probably a song she wrote about Carol.
Yeah, it's the
Um,
Pieces of Me song, or like the last lyric was something about,
I deserve a little bit of this life. I deserve a
yes,
little bit of you. I
that's
feel
it.
like the first time she sang that, because if you remember, the first time she sang that was also at Epstein Bar. Carol was watching, but Julie didn't know
Mhm.
it. And that, and she was right in the thick of Carol, Carol, just dumping all this information on her, just one after another, rocking her world. And Julie in that episode really sang this. I felt there was more sadness to it. And in this episode, I think that she had a little bit more of a confidence about it. So it was kind of fun for me to see sort of the difference in delivery based on where she's at in life.
Yeah, I agree with that. There was more vulnerability to her voice. It was kind of cracking more the first time around, and it sounds like she's, yes, processed, but probably also sung it a number of times since then.
That's true as well. She's probably, it was a new song at that point. It was very raw, very emotional at that point. And here, I think she's got a better command of it. And, Sean's there to support her. So we do see that he did go to Epstein Bar and she finishes her set and he's wildly enthusiastic about it. And he wants to get up to greet her. But first, before he gets there, Eric Kidd introduces himself, and he's the head, like you said, of that recording label. And he thought it was a good song. And he's kind of interested in hearing a recording. Has she done any recordings of it?
Yeah. And she hasn't really. She just kind of made some tapes, and there were some background noises of dogs barking, but hey, he's still interested. And I just want to say here, I feel like I haven't given a lot of awards
Hmm.
lately. So this is going to be an award-filled episode. I don't
Wow.
know why I was inspired. I just was. So this award doesn't actually go to the actor, but I'm going to name it after the actor.
Oh.
So the person playing Eric Kidd, who
Hmm.
everyone should recognize, is Adam Rodriguez. Um, and obviously, Felicity was the first thing I saw him in without really knowing it was him. And then, I watched Criminal Minds and really got into him. And I mean, he's done so many things. I mean, beyond the obvious of Magic Mike and Magic Mike XXL, which let's just admit, we all know him from there, and CSI Miami, Jane the Virgin, Empire, Ugly Betty, Roswell. I mean, this guy is all over the place. And so I'm naming the Adam Rodriguez Award because I will watch shows or I will watch movies and I will see these actors in it. And I will think to myself, you know who'd do this better? Adam Rodriguez. So I have this thought quite often.
Oh.
And so this is what this award is for. Either one of us, anyone in the world really can give this award now. It's, when you think over time, you're just like, who do this better? And you're just always thinking of the same person. That is now the Adam Rodriguez Award.
Okay. Um, so the challenge for me with that award is that I don't remember seeing him in anything else. Um, so
You
I'm
have
just
not seen Roswell?
I did, and I don't remember him from that. He has I guess I wiped my mind of Roswell
Yeah,
shortly after
I
watching it, which is
I have
appropriate, I
seen
think.
all of you. I have seen quite a bit that he's been on. I haven't really watched CSI Miami. I don't really watch the CSI stuff, but he is fantastic in Criminal Minds.
Hmm.
He's fantastic in Jane the Virgin. He's fantastic in Empire. He's fantastic in Ugly Betty. He's fantastic in both Magic Mike movies. Um, so I think what I'm hearing is you're gonna have to watch some more stuff with him in it
Yeah,
because
but
you're missing.
it looks like a lot of stuff he's in. A lot of the stuff you named, let's see, isn't the type of show that I watch, which is why I
I
haven't seen
mean,
him in very much.
yeah, that's kind of fair. I mean, Criminal Minds is definitely a kind of messed up. It's not a procedural.
I
It's
feel like I've seen a few episodes of it, but not like it does seem like a show that does feel more procedural to me, and I don't feel like I've
yeah,
ever gotten so committed to it that I wanted to stick around for a whole season of it. Um,
no. And Jane the Virgin and Ugly Betty are both comedies,
yeah, and
which you don't
generally,
watch, but
yeah.
maybe Empire. You might like Empire.
Hmm, interesting. Okay. Well, I might very well have an Adam Rodriguez-esque award with some other actor.
That's
Um,
right. It doesn't have to be the same actor.
yeah.
It could be whoever you
I
think of.
honestly think that maybe my version of Adam Rodriguez is what is his name? Dash Mihawk or something like that? The guy who played Lynn? That turns
Yeah.
up in everything.
Well, no, but the award isn't that he turns up and everything. It's you see something, and I don't want to name things because then I'm thinking I'm going to offend like other actors.
Oh yeah,
But
I'm
like
sure
I'll
they're
be
all listening.
watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Okay, so for example, One for the Money is a movie with Katherine Heigl in it,
Okay.
and it's based on the series by Janet Ivanovich.
Mhm.
And there's this sort of expert bounty hunter character in it.
Mhm.
And I just really wanted Adam Rodriguez to play that role.
Okay.
Like he would have been like I feel like he would have been perfect in it. And this is what I think. Like I see these other roles and I'm just like,
He
he'd be
could have
better.
up leveled them.
Completely.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Well, here he is in Felicity, you know?
Yes.
We're gonna get a little bit of time with him, and so here, the next scene that we see is a continuation of what's been happening at Epstein Bar. Sean finally has caught up with Julie. Eric's still talking to her. He's thinking maybe we do a demo deal. Have you ever thought about that? And now that Sean's listening, he's kind of, it's just another guy coming up to Julie, man. Gosh.
Yeah.
Sean greets her, says, "Oh, you were amazing," but he's given Eric the once over.
Well, I mean, he's acting like the boyfriend. He comes
Mhm.
up, he says, "Great job." He hugs Julie. He's like, "Hey, man, what's up?" Shakes his hand. I mean, everything about the way he approaches both of them says boyfriend. And
Yeah.
Julie, not recognizing that Sean is male, doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
And so kind of plays into it, I think, by accident.
And not thinking that Eric wants anything out of this, but talking about a record deal.
Right?
So I think she's missing a whole bunch of layers of what's going on here, possibly. And Sean's not. Sean's like immediately suspicious of Eric. And, you know, and that will become a conversation that they have where he's like, be careful around that guy. It seemed like he just kind
Yeah.
of he was interested in more than your music. And Julie's like, what now? Come on, man. She gets angry.
Yeah. As I feel like she kind of should, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happens with this character, so maybe not. Um, but during this scene, I said, "Oh, Sean, don't put your foot in your mouth." And he didn't. And then he did later.
Yeah, he did very shortly after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And a
but
scene that confused me a lot because, again, we get a nice close up view of the Hanukkah, and then we see Sean just like putting a ton of bacon on a piece of toast.
he's not a practicing Jew. He's like, I don't know. It's not, his faith is not a thing in his
Pork
life.
based.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
who knows what's in Smoothaise? Gosh.
That's true.
Like,
That is true.
for all that.
Everything in his apartment is in Smoothaise, which now includes bacon and toast.
Yeah, it's all made of Smoothaise, probably the chairs, the tables, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
A lot of
yeah,
structural integrity.
yeah, you never know. So Julie and Sean are, I mean, it's not like a full blown fight, but Julie's angry.
Yeah.
And she's upset that Sean immediately goes to like, oh, it can't be my talent that he's interested in. It has to be like something more with this guy. And she doesn't really know where this is coming from, but she's yelling at him a little bit. And that's when Ben comes back.
Yep.
Ben's panicking. He's full on in panic mode. He needs them to shut up. They're being so loud.
And he's so confused.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot figure out what to do. So
Mm-hmm.
he needs them to be quiet to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to write this paper that is just baffling to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Which we'll learn a little bit more about soon. But for now, all we need to see is that he's in his room panicking, trying to figure out how to write this paper. And it does sort of throw, a nice cold water bath onto the conversation that Julie and Sean are having. This seems to be the most important thing happening in the loft right now.
Yeah.
And they
Yep.
respect
Yep.
that. It's fair.
I just wrote nice timing because he
Yeah.
did. It was perfect.
Yeah, he definitely helps squelch that conversation. And then, uh, next time we see any of these kooky characters, we're going to be back in the loft in the kitchen. This time it's Sean and Ben together. They're both looking over respective paperwork. Both are not in a good place with the things that they're looking at. But Ben is somewhat aggressively highlighting.
Yes, and I do have an award here.
Okay.
I mean, I think you know what the award is for.
I know what the award is for, but why don't you tell all of us?
Um, I mean, I don't have a good way to sort of characterize the award, but the award is going to be for best getting out of a chair
Mm,
or best getting out of a chair motion.
okay.
Because Ben, as he's aggressively highlighting, he puts down the highlighter. Well, he at least puts his hand down with the highlighter in it.
Hmm.
And then he like does this snake motion, like, you know, throws his neck to the side and his body follows it all the way out. I'm assuming Adam Rodriguez taught him this because
Okay.
it's straight out of Magic Mike.
Oh.
Just snakes right out of that chair and chucks the highlighter across the room.
Oh, yes.
Is
Which you enjoyed so much that
oh,
we watched it twice.
yeah,
Um,
which
and
I
it
advise
was good.
everyone to do.
And I have to say, this just shows that Scott Speedman knows what comedy looks like. Because
Mhm.
if you remember from the scene where the final episode of season one, where Ben kisses Felicity, he also had a pretty abrupt chair scrape that happened in that episode. But it felt different, didn't it?
Yeah, I was
It's
going to say
totally
that's
different
not really
vibe.
a comedy move.
It wasn't. So
He's
now we
very
know he knows how to scrape a chair dramatically,
mhm.
romantically, but he also knows how to do it in a comedic way.
That's right. The physicality of Scott Speedman is to be admired in this and other episodes.
Mm-hmm. And the pure, just chucking the highlighter as hard as he could against the wall. And then you get Sean going, "Hey, Roger Clemens, did you quit
Yeah.
it? What's up with this highlighter situation?" And
But
this
Sean
is,
also says, like, I understand. Like, I understand. I've been there. I've been in the throw the highlighter phase, but
mm-hmm.
it's not that big a deal. You
Well,
know,
but for Ben
real
it is, because
life.
his final paper, it's impossible. He's in an impossible situation. Sean begs to differ. He's like, you know what this impossible situation looks like? Paying for life, man. Paying for
Yeah.
life. Figuring out how to do R&D. That's hard. And Ben's like, yeah. My problem still though. Mine.
Well,
Focus on
it's
my problem.
expensive. R&D is expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and Smoothaise has not been moving exactly like Sean would like, but he knows it's going to hit big, and
Mm-hmm.
when it does, he's gonna sit back and he's gonna laugh at this time in his life. And Ben says, "I'm looking at this time in your life, and I'm laughing now,"
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be the friendly, supportive. Uh,
Ben's got a bit of edge to him
a
right
little
now.
bit.
Okay. And we're going to find out why. So Sean realizes this guy, I don't have my sob story does not have Ben's attention here. So what is going on with Ben? So he's like, Ben, what's happening here? You having trouble with your paper? Ben's like, yeah, the invisible man. Sean's like, yep, okay. He's like, well, I have to talk about what was the assignment to talk about like the oppression of African Americans. Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was basically race. It was talking about race in the context of the Invisible Man.
Okay.
Or was it Invisible Man? I do get
It,
them confused.
yeah. So I think he is reading The Invisible Man, where he was supposed to be reading Invisible Man.
Invisible Man.
Invisible Man, which does have something to do with race relations.
Yes.
And The Invisible Man was a sci fi book by H.G. Wells.
Yes.
And so Ben is reading the sci-fi version, and now he's like, okay. So he describes the assignment about what he's supposed to talk about. He's like, well, I'm just thinking like when this guy makes himself invisible and like he feels like he can't be seen and he can't like and he's like, well, maybe that's what it's like for some people. I don't know.
Yeah. He's like, it's a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be a metaphor.
Yeah, that's the only
And
explanation here.
Sean's just chuckling. Just chuckling. Because he knows. He's
Sean
knows.
knows from the moment Ben starts speaking that they're exactly what the problem is.
Yeah.
He's got this figured out from the very beginning. And he's just letting it happen. He's just letting Ben play out his concerns. And then Sean's like, you're an idiot.
No, no. Ben says, I'm an idiot. And Sean says, yeah, you are an idiot, but not for the reason you think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Wrong book, man.
Yeah, he's
And
like, you're
Ben,
gonna want Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man.
yeah,
And I
not you.
like Ben in this moment. He's just like, there's another Invisible Man.
I know. He's like, two books with the same name? Mind blown emoji.
It's like, that's stupid. And Sean's like, nope, it's a metaphor. Yeah. I basically quoted the whole scene to you, but that's the beauty of this scene. It was good
Yeah,
as is, like Tofurkey.
exactly.
So, gosh, I mean, now Julie comes back in, interrupting this. She's like, the deal is real. The deal is
Yeah.
real. It's happening. Things are happening, folks.
Yep. Eric Kidd gave the tape to his partners. They like it. They're not like 100% on board yet, but everything looks good.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I think Ben gets up at that point and
Mm-hmm.
starts to head out. And she's like, where are you going? And both Sean and Ben say, to the bookstore.
To the library, he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sean is like, he apologizes. He says, I was being overprotective. But then he also says, and my whole Smoothaise deal fell apart. So, he's apologizing, and he's also admitting that, her thing is real and his thing not so much.
Yeah. Very true. By the way, it could have been bookstore. Can't remember. Yeah, it's basically a makeup scene here. I mean, I think they're a team, this Julie and Sean. They have different objectives at times, but at the end of the day, they're still a support system to each other. Sean's being supportive here, and that allows Julie to be supportive back, and not defensive. And so, I mean, I feel like they're mostly on the same page, and Sean's able to smooth it over pretty quickly here. At the end of the day, though, I mean, he's still hiding like everything about how he feels, but he knows how to smooth the situation over within that context. So,
Yep.
but he's got some stuff on his mind too here, because the last time he had talked to Julie about the stuff with Smoothaise, he was really excited about it. But he is no longer like, Julie's still excited about this possible record deal situation she's moving towards. Sean is no longer in that place of hope. He found out that his possible investor didn't really have any clout, just a secretary, can't make things happen. And the thing that he thought might become a big opportunity for him, it's already fallen through.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like Sean, at least that I've seen, he doesn't really get depressed or unmotivated. He just sort of plows ahead. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep changing the recipe. Things are going to work out. It's going to be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's pretty much where that lands. And I think we only see any of these characters one more time, and that's with Ben trying to finish up his paper. Sean's helping him.
Yes, he likes typing.
Yeah, he's typing the paper for Ben, who like hand wrote all of his notes
Hmm.
about Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. he hand wrote his paper, and now he needs somebody to type it up fast, like in 15 minutes when it's due.
Right. I mean, I'm hoping at this point email is a thing because you're not
Uh,
typing it, printing it, and running it over in 15
I
minutes.
think this is about the time when that would have been more realistic. I think, yeah, like when we were in college was about the time where that transition was happening, where maybe at the start of it we were submitting papers like in a submission box near the
Hmm.
teacher's office or something like that. But I know at some point pretty early on it transitioned to being able to submit by email. Maybe some teachers, maybe some professors like had were more old school and only accepted
Yeah.
paper submissions, but there were some I know during our time in college who started to accept by email. And this is right around that time that that transition might have started to happen. So,
We're going to hope that that he gets it in on time. I'm guessing that we'll never hear, and then we will never find out how he does on that. But I'm going to pretend that he gets a B.
surprisingly enough, this is not something we're going to pick back up in the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just pleased to see somebody doing schoolwork. And actually, a few people were, which was good, or at least mentioned it. I was just starting to wonder, like, is this still based in college? What's happening?
I mean, Felicity and Noel throughout most of this are doing schoolwork. It's
Yeah,
just not the schoolwork we were used to doing.
yeah, yeah. But it's been, a lot of time spent on relationships and Dean and DeLuca this season for a while.
Yeah.
And even stuff like, uh, you know, was it an assignment that Felicity and Noel had to go to the modern back in the depths, or were they just going? I think it was
I
an
think one
assignment,
of them, was it both of them?
or was it just
I,
going because they wanted to go? I can't remember.
I think it was part of an assignment, but I feel like it was just Felicity's assignment, which doesn't make sense because they were both, I don't know. We don't remember.
We don't
Correct us.
remember, but we've spent a lot more time on relationships and Dean and DeLuca and some of that stuff in recent episodes. So
Yeah,
it's
and
fun to see them be students for a minute.
yeah, and I don't think I wrote it down. I don't know where it comes. It comes in later, but it was just one little line that, Felicity is saying, I had my French literature exam and I
Mm-hmm.
don't even remember what the question was. I
Yeah,
mean,
but she at least took an
how,
exam.
but like, how involved are you in the rest of your life that you completely bomb one of your exams? I mean,
She
that
might
does
not have
not
been.
bode
I think that
well.
can happen sometimes where you like cram for some. I don't know if this is what happened for her, but I think it can happen where you like cram for something, you take the test, and as soon as it's done, you purge all of that information from your brain. That happened for me quite a lot. Um, and could have been something like that. Although I don't know if we've ever heard about her French lit class in this
No.
semester. So hey, but she was taking one. She's got this. She had a final. Yay!
She did.
Yay, school. But so Sean's typing up this paper for Ben, got 15 minutes, and he's just gonna play with Ben here for a second. He does a spell check and then he's like, we lost it. He's like, what? Sean's like, no, I'm just kidding. Ben says, don't do that.
Yeah,
That's
don't do
it.
that, Sean. That's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little funny.
But yeah, so that's where we leave it with them. We'll hear more about Julie and Sean stuff, but this paper from Ben is just they're just giving him some comedy. They're just making it light. They're just getting him caught up
They're,
on his schoolwork after spending so
they're
much
like,
time with Nick.
we've got you on the payroll. We might as well use you in these smaller scenes until we get back to what I hope is going to be all these friends interacting with each other.
Yeah, they're gonna, let's see. They're going to introduce a new character in a new location pretty soon. That'll help start to bridge the divide. It's not that it's a divide on purpose. It's like in the healing process that we went through at the start of season 2, where the people in the loft actually kind of needed to get on the same page because Julie and Ben certainly weren't at the very beginning. And Felicity and Noel were certainly not when you look at the Felicity Noel Elena crew. So I think these are two separate units right now because that's where the story led. And they're functioning, but those two units are functioning as a good unit. And so, they do need something to get them back in each other's orbits, but it's coming. We'll get
All
there.
right. A little bit less of Epstein Bar, a little bit more of somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think, like Ruby will help to do that a little bit, and a character we haven't met yet will help to do that. And, the fact that Dean and DeLuca exists as a location where any of these characters can show up is something that'll do that. Um, but yeah, there's a few different elements at play here that'll help bring them back together. But I do think at this point in season two, we have sort of, I don't want to say painted ourselves into a corner here, but the story is such that they've really developed these as sort of two parallel tracks, and they just need to have like a catalyst bring those tracks together.
Yeah, I mean, Felicity and Ben still have not had any kind of reckoning, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I mean, Felicity's done it with Julie, she's done it with Noel, but she's still in, I guess, avoidance mode with Ben.
Mm.
So,
And you're going to start seeing a shift happen there, I think, as of the very next episode.
yeah,
There's going to
yeah,
be a new story point for Felicity uh, that's going to be a catalyst that allows them to spend a little more time together. So I think that'll be you're going to start getting your wish pretty soon, because at the end of the day, so when you think about the timing of this, so I said the original air date of this episode was December 19th, 1999, and the next one is going to have aired in January. So they're taking a break. This episode certainly has a feeling of like we're closing out for the holiday, at least by the end. And the next episode is going to start the back half of season two. It's hard for us to feel that because we're watching them week to week and we're not getting those breaks. But um, you can almost think of it like the second half is going to start anew. There's going to be a bunch of new characters we're going to meet. There's going to be a whole uh, way that they take the story in season two, and a bunch of different new plot lines that they're going to open up again, starting with the next episode that they couldn't really open up in these last few episodes because they were closing out storylines that they wanted to be first half storylines.
yeah. And this whole thing with Noel is, I don't know where it's going exactly, but um, I mean, she's they kissed, and now she's starting about dreaming. She's
Well,
dreaming
why
they're
don't we get
kissing
into
more.
that, right? Because I think we've talked about everything that happened with Ben, Julie, and Sean. So let's move into the rest of the characters that we haven't covered yet.
Yeah,
And this one is a lot of, we get what, three dream sequences in this episode.
I think so. Yeah.
And we're going to open with a dream sequence, which got your attention straight away.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it opens with this picture of her and Noel naked and
It's a
you know,
drawing.
a drawing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kissing. And in Professor Sherman's class, and Professor Sherman is being a little critical, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, of Felicity, the
Mm-hmm.
person.
Yeah, it escalates to the point of Professor Sherman saying, "You're a bit of a slut."
A little bit, a little bit.
Wow.
I mean, she's in agreement with earlier Julie, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Slut of Washington
Square
Square
Park.
Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple of people. For a girl who's only had sex with two people, she's kind of getting a reputation.
Yeah.
Perhaps a bit unearned. We're throwing that term around a little loosely,
I would
but
say we are. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
Professor
but this is
Sherman's
a
not happy.
dream, which we haven't officially said it here yet that it's a dream, but it sure feels like a dream. Um, and you know that this is all stuff that's swirling around in Felicity's head. So it's not Professor Sherman calling her a slut. It's her wondering if she is one. And or at least that's what her subconscious is working on. And then in this dream, the most disturbing part of this dream is, Bruce from
Yeah.
art class is then like, she shouldn't have done it. She shouldn't have called you a slut. That's not fair. And then he kisses Felicity, and then
And
she pushes
she's
him
not happy.
away.
Yeah.
It turns out it's Noel.
Yeah. And she didn't mean to push Noel away.
Yeah.
But she did. And oh, I just, at this point, I'm wondering, is she still in love with Noel? Like, what, what's going on? Because you're
Yeah.
telling me that she's going to be put together with Ben, or at least going on that track in the next episode. I'm like, what horrible timing for whatever might have been happening with Noel. um,
Yeah.
because the two of them are certainly, I mean, at the very least, ambivalent, and her less so than him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, let's keep moving through it. I'll decide how many spoilers to give to you here. Uh, you know, um, but yeah, what we can see is that the kiss and well, Felicity says this in a tape for Sally. She says, well, the dream started Thanksgiving night. That kiss with Noel stirred up some feelings.
Mhm.
And it's not to say those feelings didn't exist before, because she had a conversation with Elena earlier this season about her the pang that she was feeling, like when Noel asked Ruby on a date to the place they went on their first date. She's had a pang here before in this season over Noel, but I guess being with David, she kind of pushed that to the side for a little while, and the kiss on Thanksgiving stirred it back up and brought it to
Yep.
the forefront of her brain. And so she's got all this swirling around. And certainly Professor Sherman in that dream and also in real life, it was like Professor Sherman did in fact walk in on them having that kiss. So there is this tension there, but also Professor Sherman is a metaphor here for like her own moral code and her own, like, what way do I want to go with this? Can I just float from this man to this man sort of thing? So I think Professor Sherman serves more than one purpose in this dream, but it's also pretty on the nose because that's the tense dynamic that they have now.
Yep. And it's in pretty stark contrast to Noel, right? Felicity's here saying, "Oh, I'm having my feelings stirred up," and Noel just comes in hot with, "It was a stupid, drunken mistake, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel guilty about it." And
Yeah.
Felicity's just like, "Oh yeah, me too."
Do you think
So
do you think he meant that?
I think he meant it when he said it. I think he'd been thinking a lot about it and he did feel really guilty and he had rehearsed. He had convinced himself that this was the way he was feeling about it because he didn't know that she felt any differently. Um, and he was so drunk at the time that he
Mm-hmm.
probably didn't pick up on anything.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I mean, yeah, I think he did think that until he realizes, oh, maybe there is a cheaper
Yeah.
shot here.
Yeah. It is interesting to see like what you I don't because I don't really know what I thought he was thinking in that moment. If he was just saying this because he was trying to get back to some level of normalcy, or if he was just feeling guilty simply because he was thinking about Ruby now. Although he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, and in this scene, at this part of the scene, he's sort of treating this like, when you play like I guess like hide, or I don't know, hide and seek with a baby, and you just like put your face behind a blanket and you're gone, and then you put it back out and you're there again, and you keep doing that. Like, I'm gone now, and I'm there again.
I
And
think we call that peekaboo.
peekaboo, is that what it is? Peekaboo, not hide and seek, because the baby can't go anywhere. That's the
Yeah, I
correct
mean,
term for that
yeah.
game. Thank you for jumping in with this key trivia knowledge. Peekaboo.
Right.
Can you imagine playing hide and seek with a baby? Like,
I mean, I can
I'll
imagine
count to
it. It probably
10.
wouldn't be particularly interesting.
It's like,
Um,
oh, I'll count to 10. You have to hide somewhere. Oh, you're still in your blanket. You always hide in the same place in plain sight.
yeah,
Okay. Sorry, guys.
yeah. But
Peekaboo.
however, if we remember from last time, Melissa always wins at trivia, so this doesn't
I
matter.
always win. That's it.
Yep,
My award still stands. Yes.
still stands.
Peekaboo is the game I was thinking of. And it's almost as if he's doing that here, where it's like, everything's fine. Professor Sherman will be fine. Everything's good. It's going to be fine. And then they actually look at Professor Sherman and she's giving them, it wasn't a dirty look, but it was like a
Oh, it
disapproving
was.
blank look.
Oh,
That
I
was
don't
like,
know. I thought she was like staring daggers at them.
yeah,
She
there was a
was not happy.
sternness there. There was a don't mess with me sort of vibe to Professor Sherman. It was like, I won't be coming back to your apartment for Thanksgiving and using your look. Um,
Nope.
yeah, and he's just takes one look at her face, like, oh yeah, okay, we're dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Felicity here, she doesn't know what to do because she wants to get over this, right? Noel has said it is a stupid drunken mistake, and she agreed with him, even though
Mm-hmm.
she didn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But her unconscious mind just won't let go of it.
Okay, here's a question. Well, okay, first of all, there's been a time jump now because we're going to get another. Felicity is starting to leave another tape to Sally, and she says it's been 3 weeks since Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
I thought that Ben's paper was due in a couple weeks from the first time that he tells us about it, but okay, whatever.
48 hours. 48 hours.
Okay, I don't know what to tell you about this time jump, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know how to explain this to you. What we know from the tape to Sally is that Felicity says it has been 3 weeks since Thanksgiving. We know that the first dream we saw happened the night of Thanksgiving. So, in theory,
Mhm.
3 weeks have passed at this point in this episode. Um, and then probably, so, uh, yes, you're right. Felicity's brain won't let go of Noel.
Yeah.
We
And
would
she keeps having the dreams as she talks to
yeah.
Elena about it. It's like we're seeing a couple of them, but these are maybe nightly occurring because later she makes a big deal about the fact that she doesn't have one night. So I mean, she may have been
Mm-hmm.
having like 3 weeks worth of dreams.
Could have been. And the other thing that we're going to have to assume is that this dynamic between Noel, Felicity, and Professor Sherman has been in sort of a holding pattern
Yeah.
because it's been 3 weeks of those classes. I would assume they have at least one class a week, maybe
Hmm.
more. But it's just maybe been in this weird space with those people because there hasn't been a resolution or conversation that we've seen to this point after that awkward look they got from Professor Sherman in that first class back.
Yeah. So I think we can kind of maybe we can assume the first two scenes, the dream sequence and the first time they're back in the classroom with Professor Sherman happened like day after Thanksgiving, and then when they got back to class the first time, the first week.
Mm-hmm. I would
Then the
agree with
three
that.
weeks occur, and then we get this next scene, and then Ben comes in and talks about his paper,
Okay.
which is due in 48 hours.
But I think the first time Ben mentions the paper, I thought you might be right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because we get
Yeah.
three scenes before we get to the Ben scene where he
Okay.
slams the door.
Yeah. All right. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah,
So
you're right.
we're
The first
feeling
time he
good.
blows in, he says the American Lit Final is due in a couple days. Okay. The timeline is back on track,
Yeah, we're
mostly.
feeling good about this.
So the next time, so after this 3 week break that we didn't actually get to see, because it's just, business as usual sort of during that 3 weeks, or at least business as what this usual looks like.
Yep,
Now
Felicity
we're in
dreaming
Professor
about
Sherman's
Noel
class again.
having really uncomfortable classes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Business as usual.
Yeah, and that's what usual looks like at this moment in time. So the next time we're going to see Felicity and Noel in Professor Sherman's class, she's giving out what the final project is going to be, which is basically three portraits. So two portraits of yourself. You do one of yourself, you do one of how you think the outside world sees you, and then you're going to partner up and do the other person's portrait. We never really see anything but Felicity and Noel's portraits of each other, though, right?
Yeah, we see Felicity starting to do her own portrait. At one point, she's looking in a mirror, and then Ruby interrupts her.
Yeah.
But I really wish that I had gotten to see those two portraits by Felicity.
Mm-hmm.
But just like Julie's song, I am never going to get what I want here.
No.
It's not happening.
No.
I recognize that. I'm a little sad, but I'll get over it at some point.
Yeah. But so for Felicity and Noel, it seems pretty obvious they're going to pair with each other because, hey, Bridget's been gone for a while. Haven't seen her. Not going to partner with her. And Bruce,
Yeah,
who needs
where did she
Bruce?
go? No.
Yeah. So they just want to make sure this is okay. So they go up to Professor Sherman after class. They go up together. They're like, hey, we just wanted to see if it was okay if we partnered together. Is it going to be weird? Is it going to be fine? Professor Sherman's like, it's fine. Totally fine. Go for it. And, Felicity makes her apology. Look, what happened at Thanksgiving had nothing to do with David. Noel, jumps in with a very appropriate comment at this point. He's like, it was really your punch.
Yeah. So it's your fault that your son got cheated on because you got us drunk.
And that is not the best move. Professor Sherman was having none of that. She gives him another one of those looks. Noel's like, I am going to exit this scene starting now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he does.
Felicity, though, she lingers in a very Dr. Garibay moment. It's like, oh, although I guess in this situation, there was some bad blood, but, Felicity lingers. Professor Sherman looks back up. She says, do you have a class-related question? Hey, Fish, did Felicity have a class-related question?
No, she didn't.
She's like, look, I really respect you. And, the thing that happened at Thanksgiving, is it going to impact our teacher-student relationship?
Yeah. That was rough.
Yeah. What was she going to say? What was the right answer to that? Like, the right answer for Professor Sherman is no, it will not. But it still could have.
I guess. I mean, obviously she cares about her son, but also she is a professor. I mean, she's an adult and like she doesn't have to like them, but she says basically I'm just going to pretend you didn't even ask me that. Yeah. And Felicity's like, yeah, cool. Bye.
And I think that this scene or like this reaction from Professor Sherman might be why I'm almost surprised that Professor Sherman tried to set Felicity up with her son to begin with during the run of the class. Like
those two things don't seem to go together.
They don't, right? Because I think, yeah, sure, okay, there's going to be, she doesn't think very well of Felicity right now, but she is saying I can keep that separate from the grade that I give you. I can, like, in this room, you are my student. I feel like she does have that ability to compartmentalize, and I think from what I've seen from Professor Sherman, I think of her as a teacher or a professor who would not want to jeopardize the ethics of her profession.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at it two ways. One is a question about ethics, where maybe she does blur some professional, personal boundaries. But she still, you know, has a certain ethics about teaching and art. And I
Yeah.
guess that's the way that I think about it, because the other way to think about it is that she has strong professional and personal boundaries. And
Hmm.
that does not seem to be true in all cases.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't know what was really going on for her character, and they introduced David by through her. I don't know where else. Um, I don't know where else, like from a time standpoint, Felicity was supposed to meet somebody like David, because they already had her in this classroom. That's how they got Noel and Felicity to be in the same space. And so that, I suppose, was a natural person that you could use to like bring in a new character like David.
Or they could have just met at Epstein Bar,
Yeah.
like everyone else.
Yeah. I don't know. It does feel a little bit like I don't know exactly what they were trying to do with Professor Sherman here or then. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that you said that it seems like some of these things don't really go together, because I also don't think that they do. But nonetheless, this is what happened in the show.
And sometimes things just don't make sense. For
Mhm.
example, the next dream sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, we're going to
Felicity.
get a lot of important men together here in
Yeah.
this room.
And I've been referencing this dream sequence since the first time we saw Eli, or
Yeah,
maybe the second time we saw Eli.
yep,
Um, so I've been building this up, but it was just as weird and wild as you might think it might be.
it
Um,
was.
so it was truly a deep dream sequence. She's kind of walking around in a space with like sheer curtains. I don't know what it was.
Yes, I mean, it felt like a 90s music video,
Mhm.
you know, the way the light was coming down, and you just sort of expected at some point for the curtain to open up to a beach scene.
Mhm. How would you
Yeah.
describe the music we were hearing? It was very like sort of, I don't want to say noir. What's the word that I want here? It's
I don't
like
remember the song actually.
it was like there was like a little bit of drum in the background. There's like a and like it's like a and like a tonal sort of sound, and then there was like a bit of like a bongo drum in the background.
Hmm. I probably would have more to say on that had I not been so, I guess, overwhelmed by the rest of the content.
True. Okay, so let's get to the rest of the content. It's going to be a buffet of all the men that Felicity has had in her life.
It
Um,
is, but
Noel is the first person she sees.
is he? I thought it was Eli.
It was Noel. I missed you.
Uh, oh,
And then
I totally missed that.
Eli. I had her first. So it was sort of like the way they showed this. It was just like the faces of the body and face of these men just kind of floated it, like it was like, this is the
Yeah.
next person that's standing in front of you, and then the camera pans and it's another person standing in front of her, and they kind of get right in their face, so it's a little
Yeah.
bit disorienting.
Yeah, and it's all about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And well, and not with Ben and Noel, but like Eli is like, I had her first, and David is like, yes, but I taught her how to make love.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ben is like, yes,
Ben.
but I'm her soulmate. And Noel's like, no, I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the piece de
Lucky.
resistance,
Mm-hmm.
Lucky the dog, who comes in. And we're not sure what exactly he says here, so please weigh
I
in.
think he said je m'appelle Sean.
Yeah, and I think he said, Je m'appelle changer. So, like, I am change.
Okay. Well,
Neither
did
one makes sense, again. But what is clear is that he is about her sexual ambivalence and confusion,
and there's
which
actually
works.
subtitles that come on the
Yeah,
screen because he's speaking in French at that moment. Um,
yes.
but as soon as we heard Lucky speak, I actually thought it sounded like David's voice.
I did too.
Okay. Yeah. Which made your comment. I'm circling back from a comment you made from an earlier episode. Can't believe I remembered it. Award for me. Yay. You had made a comment in Getting Lucky about how Lucky represented David.
Yeah, at the very beginning, it's like he was sad and sweet, so he had no color. So I took him home and I was like, is Lucky David?
Mm-hmm. And then here he is, Lucky with David's voice in a French
Yeah.
accent. And who else, you know, like first time Felicity and David go on a date is to a French restaurant, and he studied abroad in France. So if there's a character
Mhm.
here that's meant to represent that, it would be David. Um,
And she
yeah.
did have a lot of sexual ambivalence and confusion with David, the whole David and Lucky situation.
Mm-hmm. And also,
So
if you interpret it the way I did, and you think he said Je m'appelle Sean, I suppose that would also be like confusion and ambivalence.
I don't know so much ambivalence with Sean.
Yeah.
I certainly would feel confusion if his name was Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. It could have been something other than changer, but like there was another word that I thought at first it was something else, and I can't remember what it is now. It wasn't change, it was anyway. It could be a number of things. We're not really sure. But
As we're talking here, I'll also check a script and see if I can
yeah, and
find.
I did look in the script and it didn't, well, one of the scripts, and it didn't have it in there. But if you can find a script that has it in there, that would be great.
Oh my actual goodness. This script says Lucky, and it says Je m'appelle Charles. That makes even less sense than
Oh,
anything you and I have thrown out, right? Who's been a
well,
Charles?
isn't Charles,
Charlie was Maggie's husband, who
yeah.
Felicity never met and didn't know about.
Oh.
This is unfortunate that that was what was in the script because,
Was it the
uh,
official script though? Sometimes people just try to like type what they think it is.
well, it's tricky too because even with an official script, things can be improvised and things can be changed that don't.
Yeah.
And so there is no like actual, unless somebody does a full transcript of what was filmed. There is
Right.
nothing that, but to even see the word Charles here. So
That
the
sounds
answer
good.
is I have no idea what's said at
So
that
it
point.
could be Charles, it could be Change, it could be Sean, it could be some other word. Lucky's name is a mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you happen to have listeners, if you happen to have a like a concrete answer to that question, you go ahead and tell us. Or if you have theories, feel free to project onto this part of the script, and you tell us what you want it to be. Because hey, it's a dream
Exactly.
sequence. None of it makes sense anyway. Might as well.
Yeah, very, I don't know. I found these dreams to be very interesting because they are from Felicity's perspective.
Mhm.
And seems like girls got sex on the brain.
Well, and I mean, I don't necessarily think this dream was sexual. I think this dream was her reviewing the men that have been in her life and thinking about what it meant. So I think of this as more analytical.
Yeah, but to have, I don't know, like because it's from her perspective, I guess it's okay that these things were said. But if these guys were to get in a room together and Eli's statement was, I had her first, and David's
Mm-hmm.
was, but I taught her how to make love, I'd be like, who are you?
Yeah. But I do
Like,
think at the end of the day, this is coming from a standpoint of what do these people represent to Felicity now? Like if this is the journey she's been on with relationships to this point, basically in her life, like what have these people represented to her? And then we get Lucky, which is like the outlier.
well,
Like,
and what does it mean that Lucky represents her sexual ambivalence and confusion, and he
mhm.
has died?
Oh my God.
right?
R.I.P.
Because,
Lucky.
well, I mean, first of all, that's sad. But
Hmm. Are you saying that
also,
means she's made decisions?
but I don't, I feel like she hasn't made decisions. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, this is an imperfect representation.
As is so often happens with dreams. This is like if I were to put my dreams into a TV show, you'd be like, what is happening here? This can't be. What is all this supposed to be about? So I guess to some degree, once you start putting dream sequences in, it's like a very David Lynch sort of thing. It's like what maybe
Yeah.
it's supposed to be, how do we feel about it more so than the content itself? Because I think that's something that happens with David Lynch a lot. It's like, well, beyond what you think this symbolizes, how did it make you feel in that moment? Because that's what we were trying to elicit. So I don't know what they were going for with this. I do think that, and remember that this is a mid-season finale, and so it is sort of like a review in its way of like, here's where we've been. Actually,
Yeah.
here's where we've been
Yeah.
in the last maybe a
2 weeks.
little bit more than this half a season. So
I mean,
it's,
we're reaching back to Eli at this
yeah,
point.
we're reaching back to
Oh,
Eli. So that puts us at about like one full season if we go back from like the mid-season finale or
yeah.
mid-season premiere of season one.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. This does feel like a time when you might do a review in this way, remind you of where she's been, let you know that she's confused about what the future holds. And then that might prime you for a, well, what's going to happen from here when you pick up again in the back half of season two?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't know what to do with Noel here. I mean, he is clearly still into her, and he is
Yeah.
giving her all these vibes
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, the next scene, we've got Felicity and Noel talking to each other,
Yeah.
and he wants to know about her dreams. Now, I'm sorry. Nobody asks about your dreams unless they're trying to get in your pants.
Well,
Like,
she says I've had weird dreams, and I think
I know,
the
but
natural thing
like,
you would say is, "Oh, what happened in them?" Like I do think that would be a natural thing to say if you're friends.
I don't, I feel like, I don't know, male female friendships or like someone that you have dated or that you might date in the future, like,
She
were
didn't
they,
say that it was. She didn't say the nature of the dream. She only said Bruce had been in it, and he was like, "What?"
yeah,
So
but to turn to her and be that interested in what she dreamed about, I mean,
no, I could see that being a thing. She
I
kind of
don't see
opened
that
it up,
being a
and then
thing.
she immediately closed it off, right? Because it's not a dream she wants to relay to him. So she doesn't. She just
Yeah,
lets that
she's,
conversation come to a halt.
yeah,
Um,
she zags and she's like, let's bring up Ruby, quick.
yeah, yeah. Well, and before she does that, so they're doing the part of the assignment where they're working on each other's portraits. They're sort of sitting across from each other on the couch, and she's talking about how she's not really looking forward to the like she's not excited about doing her own portrait. And she's like, yeah, just staring myself in the mirror, drawing my own face, it's just yuck, you know? And Noel's like, well, I can tell you it's not yuck.
Again, same vibes.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely giving her, you know,
If you were
a,
going to be trying to read into things Noel is saying, drawing you is not yuck is definitely a thing you can read into for sure. And I think he
I think the
intended it
whole
as a
thing.
thing to read into. I think yeah, I think a lot of the stuff he's doing in this episode is showing that he is leaning in the direction of Felicity himself now.
Yeah. And so Felicity's just gonna bring up Ruby. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, are you missing Ruby? And he's like, yeah, she'll be back in a couple weeks and
From a
finishing
movie shoot.
up and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was a little startled because I was absolutely terrified by Noel's sketch of Felicity. The eyes on that thing were so, I mean, right out of a horror film.
Yeah. Well, it
It
was
was
a
a
combination of
rough.
that and the abnormally long, skinny neck that they gave her, which is not reflective of Carrie Russell's neck. Um,
Oh,
it was not well proportioned. Let's put it that way. Whereas
yeah.
I did think that the drawing of Noel was quite good.
I had the same issue. I think they were drawn by the same person. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the eyes, again, in Noel's, in the picture of Noel, terrifying. Uh,
Hmm.
Absolutely terrifying. And it was weird because I think if you look at them together, and I was so distracted by the eyes, that's why I think it was the same person, because that's mostly what I was focused on.
Okay.
But they're both facing forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, he throws the sketch on the ground, and I guess that means he's starting over or something, because at the end, you see that she's in profile. And I don't know if that one was done by the same person or not, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the two that they're working on most of the time were done by the same person because the eyes look the same and equally as terrifying.
Could be. I didn't notice the picture of the portrait of Noel being terrifying. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good representation and made him look
The lips were good.
almost jolly.
Oh,
I don't know.
go back and look at the eyes. The eye, I mean, they're different. Like one's all like kind of white and one's kind of dark and one's like larger and I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna have nightmares about those eyes tonight.
Fair enough. All right. Well, it's Halloween for us, Halloween season. So that's
Yeah.
okay. It might not be when you're listening to this, listeners, but it is for us. So then we get this part. It's like a voiceover. I think it's a voiceover for Sally still. For what Felicity's saying to Sally, where she's like, and then this weird thing happened. We were taking a TV break and we kind of napped. And then you see they're napping, but Noel's arm is around Felicity. He's spooning her. And, you know, it's like, okay, what's going on here, folks? Um, and then we're going to get Felicity recounting that to Elena.
hmm And she's like, I could feel his breath on my neck, and he had his arm around me. And then we see all these Christmas decorations, and I realize, oh, it's getting towards the holidays.
Yeah.
Um,
But then in the conversation with Elena, she's saying, Elena's like, well, then what happened to like, I don't want to date anyone right now. And Felicity's like, I don't know. I mean, he just, I don't even know what that was. Like, I just kind of got up first and we didn't talk about it. We went back to drawing our portraits and Elaine's like, fess up, say something concrete, do something, tell him about the dreams.
yeah, and I thought this was really telling what Felicity says. She says, if I get this chance to date him again,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make the same mistake again. So does that mean that she feels that going with Ben was a mistake?
Is it Ben that was the mistake? Is it Eli that was the mistake in her mind? What was the mistake?
I immediately went to Ben.
Because I was thinking Eli.
Because I feel like it would be a lot harder for her to make the same Eli mistake again, considering we haven't seen Eli since this dream. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like since season one. But I guess it also would be difficult given her relationship with Ben right now.
There's not another man in the picture for her. And
Mm,
any mistake she's made with Noel in the past was her choosing somebody else.
yeah. So it
So,
could just be that.
yeah. Um, I guess in a more general way, it could be like taking for granted the relationship with Noel,
Yeah.
which I suppose would be true even in this situation. She doesn't want to do that. Um, but yeah, what we're definitely getting from Elena here is like a shoot your shot kind of vibe. Tell them about the dream. That's a big thing to do.
hmm
And and Felicity's trying to figure out what's happening with the Ruby dynamic. And she's like, I mean, is he Is he serious about her? And Elaine is like, look, how serious can he be about her? She's been gone for a while. They hadn't been together for very long. You have history. Um, you know, and I think on the back of that, she's saying, tell him about your dreams. I think Elena's aware of the complication here.
Yeah, but she's always going to be kind of Felicity's cheerleader, she's a girl. She's
Yeah.
she's looking out for Felicity.
Yeah.
So Ruby, bah.
And this fires up Felicity, right? So she's going to go to confront Noel. And of course, the person who answers the door at the apartment is
Ta-da.
Ruby, who has come home for the econ final just in the nick of time to interrupt this conversation.
Yep. Yeah, she's back for a little
Yeah.
while.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to run away so that Felicity and Noel can talk to each other about gifts that Noel has bought Ruby and piled up on a table. Um,
Yeah, they're
you know,
doing portraits again, their portrait drawing session, but Noel has questions. He wants a woman's opinion. He wants Felicity's opinion.
he does,
He's got
and
three
he
different
needs it.
gifts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he needs it because, as we can see from the way that I'm assuming he and not Elena have decorated the apartment for Christmas, he does have kind of a sad Charlie Brown Christmas tree going on in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty sad tree.
Okay.
So I feel like, yes, he should get some advice.
Yeah. And he's got these three different gifts and he puts them on parade for Felicity to get her reactions. He's got a sweater.
Hmm. Don't ask Felicity about sweaters.
She liked it. You did not.
I didn't. Well, I mean, that's true of every sweater she's ever worn
Hmm.
in season one.
Okay. Um also also a Palm Pilot. Did he actually show the Palm Pilot?
We showed the box.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
remember Palm Pilots?
gosh, barely. I didn't have one, so I don't even totally know what
Yeah,
it did, but it sounds like something that
it
would get you
was.
organized.
Yeah, it was the kind of pre-BlackBerry,
It's kind of what
like
I'm
without a
envisioning.
phone.
Yeah.
It was it was all the thing for about 2 seconds.
Yeah. And then there was a third thing that he bought, which was a bracelet
A very
with
cheap looking
it looks like
bracelet.
costume jewelry, but I'm guessing he chose it because it was not rubies, but it was ruby colored something,
It was
right?
red. There,
Yeah,
there were red pieces of plastic
beads of
attached.
some sort. Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's got those three things, which is three really very different things. There's like the Palm Pilot, techie, totally functional. There's the sweater, sort of a mix between the two. It's like, okay, I don't know. And then there's the jewelry, which is like I guess in theory, the most romantic gift. Um, but he's deciding between those three things. He's trying to decide what he should give Ruby, but he phrases it to Felicity as, well, which one would you want?
And Felicity can't answer that question because she has a personal stake in the answer.
Okay.
So as usual, she can't keep her mouth shut, and she tells Noel about her feelings. And
And to
and
be
this
fair, I
is
don't know that she should keep her mouth shut here. She can't, but I
no,
also don't know that
I
she should.
I agree, but this is also why I think that when Noel came up and said it was a stupid drunken mistake, you know, he meant that because when she reveals that she, has some inklings of feelings and might want to get back together, he is shocked. I mean, he is reeling.
She goes
He,
beyond saying, I have inklings of feelings. She says directly, I want to go out with you again.
yeah,
And then she softens it. She's like, I don't even know if he'd be interested or like what, like, but she puts that out there in very concrete terms for him. And he is reeling.
yeah, he, I feel like he had absolutely no thought that she had any feelings for him.
I don't even know if it's that. I mean, on the one hand, it might be that. On the other hand, it might be that it's the safest possible place for him to avoid feelings like this. Like whether or not he was acknowledging how he was feeling or acknowledging any signals he thought she might be putting out. Like maybe he saw some of that stuff happening and it was a position of great safety for him to leave it unaddressed and be with Ruby.
Well, regardless, he's, you know, he's not saying yes. I mean, it seems like it's shocking to him either to have to confront the feelings
Mm-hmm.
or to hear about them,
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that Felicity had any.
Mm-hmm.
But he does not react in the way that Felicity would like.
Yeah. It's hard for me to think that he didn't have feelings before this episode. If I think about how
Oh, I
he
think
handled
he did.
family affairs.
No, I think
he,
he did. I don't think he thought she did.
oh,
That's what I think is the shock. I think
okay.
he definitely had these feelings. He's been giving her the vibes. He's been giving her all this stuff. He was the
And
one who
family
moved in with
affairs,
them.
he was definitely a little threatened by David. He's been threatened by David for a while. He gives David a funny look every time David's ever come into the room at the same time as him. So
It's
I
David.
think it's well documented.
But
But
he's
yeah,
continued to have feelings for Felicity. It's just in his mind, you know, I still feel like, and I feel like we also got this in feedback from some people, that Noel is a deeply insecure person when it comes to relationships.
mhm.
And the idea that Felicity would want to date him again is just not even a consideration.
Yeah. And so after she puts this out there for him, like we've said, he says, I'm reeling, I'm physically reeling. This is bad timing. Bad timing being that Ruby just showed up for an econ final. Um, and then he goes into this story, the parable of the motorcycle stunt person. He tells a story about a motorcycle guy that he saw something about this person on TV. They were trying to jump 60 buses, I think, with the motorcycle in one fell swoop, and they crashed and burned on bus number 59. And he said, I think he said like broke 80% of the bones in his body.
Yes.
And so apparently somebody interviewed the guy, and Noel, as the kid, was watching this interview, and the person said, would you do it again? And the stunt driver said, nope, 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 nope. And they said, why not? And Noel's quote was, because I really missed the first time.
Yep.
So, you know, probably one of his better metaphors compared to, I remember a certain, she is like a chick when he was talking to Felicity's dad way back in season 1. This feels like the kind of thing Noel would be referencing in this
Yeah.
moment.
It feels appropriate. It feels like he understood what he wanted to say and then came up with a story that actually was able to communicate that to another person.
Yeah,
Good
I mean,
job.
it's this idea that like Felicity was the dream, the thing that he wanted, that he was working toward. He went after it and he just got smashed to smithereens. And now he's reluctant to approach this again, and maybe hoped the opportunity would not be presented in front of him in this way where he could possibly feel the FOMO of it all.
Yeah.
It perhaps was easier for him not to have to consider an actual offer. But this is his response. And so in this conversation, Felicity's like, you know what? That was a perfect response. I totally get it. We should both feel good about putting it out there, and just let's just move on. She immediately walks to the couch. She grabs the portrait again to start getting back to work. He grabs his, they start doing that. And then she says, give her the bracelet. It's what I would want. So she's now finally answering the question that he opened this scene with. And she's doing it in an honest way.
Yep. And I mean, I like that about her in this episode, that she does kind of stay honest about how she, at least the gift part
Hmm.
for both of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
she's not, I don't find Felicity to be particularly sneaky unless she's trying to help. Like, I don't see her as being like a sneaky person trying to sabotage people.
I agree with that.
Um,
Um,
so she doesn't do that. She
well,
says, "Give her
so
the bracelet."
she she plays it off here like, okay, let's move on, but she is going to lick her wounds a little bit. So she's going to enter the science lab um to talk to Elena. And I just enjoy this so much. uh, Felicity interrupts Elena and her new lab partner and is like, Noel, like Noel dumped me. Elena's like, were you even dating? But in
Yeah.
order to have this conversation, Elena needs to make her lab partner go away. And this is like one of my favorite moments of like one line people where I don't know, I'm going to give this an award for best slow talker. Gwen. Gwen gets
Yeah.
just a little bit of screen time here, but she makes an impact on me where Elena says, Gwen, go get she says, "Go get the beaker." And oh no, what did Elena say? She makes her want to go away. She's like,
Yeah, it's something like, "Can you do the next step?" or something like that.
and then
And
Gwen
yeah.
gets out. I'll go get the beaker. And Elena's like, uh-huh. Gwen goes away, and Felicity says, she's she's the slow talker, huh? And it's like, well, she's not the fast talker.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments where it's so clear that life is continuing to go on and they've got inside jokes and they're sharing stuff that, we don't see. But we get these little pieces of it, and this was a lovely
Elena
one.
must be so frustrated with Gwen.
She's probably just doing it all herself.
She's probably doing every single thing herself. Yes,
Yeah,
the only way that
except
this relationship can work.
except getting this one beaker.
Beaker. Yeah. My goodness. But yeah, so Felicity just sort of recounts for Elena what just happened. She says, Noel was really clear and confident in his answer, and Elena was like, yeah, it just makes him want you all the more, doesn't it? Or makes you want him all the more. And Felicity's like, yeah,
Well,
yep.
that's the thing. When someone gives you an answer you can respect, and then you're like, now I respect them even more. They're more attractive.
Yeah,
So,
very unlike what Nicole had suggested back in season one, where she's like, everybody knows the best way to get over a crush is to put it out there. Well, Nicole,
guess what?
direct evidence to the contrary right here.
Yep,
Gosh.
yep. I mean, I think that's what this line was put in for, to directly refute the
Nicole.
Nicole of it all.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's what they were thinking. They were like, we need an answer to this
Mhm.
major prophecy that Nicole had. Yeah. So now, no, we're gonna move to a scene. I find this stuff kind of interesting. So Noel has just said no to Felicity, but then we see him in this scene with Ruby. They're, at the cafe or the bar or the cafe side of Epstein Bar. I don't know what this location is still, right? Is it Epstein Bar? Is it
I'm
just the other
assuming
side?
Epstein Bar.
Okay. So the Noel and Ruby are at a table and he gives her a gift. And what is the gift that he gives her? Not the bracelet that Felicity would want. He gives her the Palm Pilot.
He does. And
And, she seems to like it.
yeah, I mean, she's not super enthusiastic about it, but she's like, it's nice. It's
I'm
perfect,
so disorganized. This is what I
Yeah.
need.
or
Yeah.
unorganized. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, great, now look it up.
Yep.
And
She was
it was
really
a
cute in that
weird,
moment.
yeah.
Hook
And
it
it,
up. Just kind of shrugs. He's like,
he's like,
oh,
I
hook it
want
up.
to
She's like,
probe.
yeah. Yeah.
But a really weird thing to notice here, and I don't know why I did, but Noel has a band-aid on his thumb. Like at
Oh.
some point, he has cut his thumb,
Or is it still from
and
the lucky bite?
well, it wasn't in the earlier scenes.
Oh, well.
So he's cut his thumb, and we'll never see the band-aid again.
It was a
Um,
real Scott Foley injury, probably.
I think so, but I just happened to see it. I was like, oh, he's got a big band-aid on his thumb.
I want it to be that he's still healing from the bite from Lucky. That's what I want it
It's
to
the
be, but
it's
it's
the
not.
wrong finger though,
Oh.
because it's his thumb on this one, and Lucky bit him on the one of his fingers.
A thumb is a finger.
No, it's not.
Gasp.
I know, right?
What?
A
I
thumb's not a
consider it a
finger.
finger. I
Look
will
it up.
accept it as a finger.
Look it up. It's not a finger.
Is a thumb a finger? Is that what I'm supposed to be looking up right
Yep.
now?
Look it up.
Is a thumb a finger? Let's see. In some languages, it's referred to as the big finger, special digit.
It's a digit.
Thumb is a digit, but not technically a finger. Oh, come on.
Ha ha!
So
Yes.
when you say how many fingers do
Victory!
you have, you're supposed to say 8.
Yep.
That is
Technically,
not an answer I would accept as normal.
hey, the internet has just proven me correct because everything on the internet is right.
The
Um,
problem with this esoteric knowledge is that I think most people probably consider a thumb a finger and a big toe probably a toe.
which,
So,
you know, I mean, it's okay for everyone else to be wrong and me to be right.
well, the problem is if you then say I've got 8 fingers and everybody thinks you're missing 2 fingers, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I think it's like when people, I think it's when people call bruschetta bruschetta, where I'm like, I understand that I have to be like normal people and I
Yeah.
have to call it bruschetta so
Yep.
that I don't get a funny look. And I know that the Italian pronunciation is not that at all. And
Yeah.
I want to be understood. So I am going to continue to say that I've got 10 fingers.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that is a reasonable response. However, I would like to point out I do win this one interaction.
wait.
We can have a definitive answer.
There, I may need to look at some other sources on this.
Go ahead. I
I'm getting some mixed
don't know
responses, but
why.
this is strange.
Yeah, I don't know why I know this, but I know that I've looked it up like a couple times because it's like come up in other stuff.
Yeah. Um, there are
But
some varying answers to this. I don't know. That's strange. Okay.
but back to
Yeah.
something that is actually
The
related
more
to
you
Felicity
know.
because not even the cut thumb was really related to
Yeah.
actually the
Anyway,
scene.
anywho, so we yeah, one of the things that I kind of notice about the way that they close out this scene where Ruby's being all cute, she's like, hook it up. And I just had this feeling from her when she says that, where I'm like, she really is pretty good at getting people to do things for her.
Yeah,
She was really cute. She was really sweet about it. And she's like, take care of me.
yeah.
Like it really
Yeah.
struck me that way. Um, hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. She's good at it, and she just kind of does it in a way that's so innocent, right?
Yeah.
It's like
It
what's
is innocent. It
expected.
does not feel manipulative to me whatsoever when
No,
she says things like this. And yet,
it's just, but it is an expectation.
yeah. So, so I don't know, and I'm reading into that from where I know her character is going, but it's just like, Yeah, just stuff like that.
But I think we've seen it already.
Yeah, yeah, we have. Um, but so it's relevant to me that Noel had asked Felicity's opinion. Which gift should I give Ruby? Give her the bracelet. Noel decides to give her something else. He gives her the Palm Pilot.
Yep.
And so when this happens, I'm thinking, is this an act of sabotage for Noel? Is he trying not to is he trying to do the opposite thing? Is he, like where is this coming from for Noel? And then we
Interesting.
get this next scene.
Well, but so for that scene, I had two thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and I had not considered sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was him recognizing that Ruby and Felicity are different,
Mm-hmm.
and that the Palm Pilot would actually be the better present for Ruby, kind of like he knows her better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the other thought I had was, is he saving the bracelet to give to Felicity?
I mean, so I think if you just leave it at that scene, it leaves a lot of room for interpretation. And then we get to the next scene that I think grounds it a little bit more in. So Felicity and Noel are drawing again. They're drawing each other's portraits again. And the conversation comes up about what gift he gave Ruby. He says the Palm Pilot. Now Felicity knows that the last time she had a say in this, she was saying give her the bracelet. So I think this is probably striking Felicity in that moment, maybe, or at least it's weird and confusing. But she keeps rolling through this. And this is where Noel then takes another step and he says, you know what? Getting a little blocked here. Let's try a technique that Bruce suggested. It's called
Yeah,
staring into each other's eyes as deeply as you can.
yeah, I know. It's called getting close to each other and longingly staring in each other's eyes.
And then he backs it up for himself. He's like, you know what? I thought Bruce maybe was trying to come on to me, but it just turns out it's an artistic technique. It's fine.
It's totally normal.
Totally validated. This is a normal thing. So
Yeah,
friends can do this. You can do this with Bruce. You can do it anyway.
yeah.
So Felicity's like, yeah, if it's a technique, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Mhm.
So they put down their drawings and they start staring into each other's eyes and they slowly start leaning in, leaning in, leaning in. They're
I
getting
don't know
really
that
close to kissing.
they lean in. I mean,
Noel
he
is
is
leaning
definitely moving.
in.
Sh-
Yeah.
She is not moving as much.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but not as much. And
Yeah.
then had it not, Elena walks in and interrupts us. She's like, "You two were gonna kiss," and
Yep.
Felicity is just kind of like in an open mouth stare, and like Noel is just like, "No." Uh, but it's pretty clear where this was headed if you're the viewer watching this.
Yeah.
And I
And
think when
I,
you take these things back to back, like Noel has said, despite knowing that Felicity suggested he give her the bracelet, Noel says, I gave Ruby the Palm Pilot. And then he makes this move.
yeah, I don't know that he really meant
Oh,
for it to
come
end up
on.
being a kiss. I just don't, I think he kind of, with Noel, I feel like it's a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
Like he's like, all right, let's try this technique. And then, because this happens like three times during this episode, they like start staring at each other and then Noel starts leaning in. And it's like, all right, like learn that this is what is going to happen if you stare
I
into each
don't I
other's
don't think that
eyes.
this is accidental moth to a flame though. I think that
Yeah.
Felicity having this conversation with him brought this to the forefront of his brain even more. I think he's not stopped thinking about it since they had that conversation. I think that he's making choices to that make him want to gravitate towards Felicity here. And he's exploring that. And I think when I think about him giving the Palm Pilot to Ruby, I think he's like trying to cool it off. Um, I almost do think of it as possible sabotage in a very like in a in a way that doesn't seem like it. It's like, oh, maybe she won't like this as much. I'll get her this. And
Yeah.
then he's even testing it when he gives that gift to Ruby. He's like, "Are you sure you really? I can return it. Like, it's fine." Ruby's like, "No, no, no, I like it. It's fine." And I think he's doing these things, and I think it's not subconscious. I think it's a little more on the surface for him than that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would go as far as sabotage. I think that he didn't give her the bracelet because that would have been the romantic gift,
Mm-hmm.
right? That would have moved things maybe forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is a little unsure at this moment, even though he has given this absolutely horrific metaphor for what happened to him last time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed was, when they were really looking into each other's eyes, Felicity has more of a blank face. She's kind of trying to do the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Noel, to me, is looking into her eyes like he wants a question answered. Like he's almost like desperate to get some kind of answer
Like
from this.
are
Like,
you gonna
can I
hurt me
trust?
again?
Yeah, can I
Yeah.
trust you? Or do you really want this to happen? How committed? Like something.
Yeah.
And I believe that that is what he wanted from them staring in each other's eyes, is to be able to like almost see into her soul to get some clarity. I don't think he went into it thinking he was going to kiss her, but like he can't stop himself.
Yeah. Yeah. That Noel.
I know. But I have an award here to give.
Okay.
It's my last one. To Elena for the best holiday themed burn.
Hmm.
She walks in and she's like, "You were about to kiss." And they're like, "No, no, we weren't." She's like, "It's all right with me. Doesn't have to be Thanksgiving." I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Good job,
Yeah.
Elena. Good
Shade.
job.
Yeah, so there is all that happening. Look, I think the stuff with Noel, I think it's a both and, I think it's like he's sort of keeping the plates spinning. He's got this
Yes.
relationship happening with Ruby. He's now aware he knows there's an interest in Felicity on his side. He now knows there's an interest in him from Felicity, and he's terrified of it.
Hmm.
And I think all of these things can be true. And he's trying to walk this really strange, like, line, navigating all of these things. Um, so, but Felicity certainly takes some important information away from this conversation. If nothing, even if it's only on a subconscious level, she is, where we get to dream number 3. Noel and Felicity are in bed, and Felicity reaches under the pillow that her head is on, and she finds the bracelet that Noel was going to give to Ruby. It's broken. It's in a bunch of pieces. And then we pull back the camera, and we now see that it's Ruby instead of Noel that's next to Felicity in bed. Ruby is in just like a red bra, because there you go. And Ruby looks at the bracelet kind of sadly. She's like, I really wanted that bracelet. And Felicity is like, yeah, me too. Ruby's like, you too? Interesting. And then she says, was the Palm Pilot your idea?
And she pulls out the Palm Pilot,
Mm-hmm.
which is all gray and sad looking, and
Mm-hmm.
she opens up the top and she just looks at Felicity and goes, "Did you do this?" It's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
are you responsible for this being my crap gift?
Yeah. And again, like none of that is coming from Ruby's perspective. This is all in Felicity's subconscious and it's the dream. But what we know is that now that Noel told her, I gave Ruby the Palm Pilot, and they had this basically almost kiss moment again. Um, this is Felicity's dream right after, where she's like realizing that this is all all of this is happening between Felicity and Noel in spite of Ruby.
Hmm.
And it's almost impossible to remove the Ruby element from the Felicity and Noel dynamic at this stage.
Yep.
So, and this is where we have the whole like Felicity is so flustered that she goes into her French lit final, doesn't remember answering the question or what question it even was.
But
Because,
hopefully she doesn't fail out because, we do have 2 more seasons to go.
yeah, yeah,
Thought,
she doesn't. Spoiler alert, she will continue with school.
oh,
Um,
okay, good to know.
so, and now we're going to get the next scene. Ruby's going to enter back on the scene here. So Felicity is in her room drawing, and Ruby interrupts. She blasts into the room. She's got a Noel crisis.
Yeah. I mean, first she says, I have a crisis. And Felicity's like, are you okay? She's like, it's about Noel. And she basically says, they're like, I'm getting paid. Like, I'm taking the per diem and, I'm just pocketing it and I have enough to buy a plane ticket to LA for Noel. And they want me for 2 more weeks. So I'm considering inviting him over the holidays to spend it with me in LA. But I wonder if I can't remember if she says like indulgent or extravagant.
Extravagant might be the word.
Yeah, she's like, is it extravagant? Which I don't know why that would have anything to do with freaking him out. But then she says, and would it freak Noel out? And she wants advice. Should
Well,
I
that's
get
a
this
pretty
ticket?
significant gift for a college student to give to another college student.
Yeah, I just feel like the word extravagant is, I don't know. Like, I think buying the ticket versus spending the holidays together in LA, like I get the would it freak him out part. But if you've got money sitting around from the movie, I mean, you're in a freaking movie with Tom Cruise. I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but I think, they're still college students at the end of the day, right? So it might be that Ruby
Yeah.
has a little more money on her hands right now, but I think, once you start buying gifts over $100 in college, that's like, whoa, big deal.
Yeah,
Um,
because that bracelet certainly didn't cost over
it certainly did
$100.
not, right? I don't know how much the Palm Pilot cost, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So
but she wants
that's
Felicity's advice. What would Felicity do? And will it freak Noel out?
yeah. And in the back of her mind, Felicity's sitting here thinking, well, he did buy me tickets to Berlin last year.
Hmm.
This is fine. Um like
Although she didn't go.
she didn't. Um but he at one point in his life was totally comfortable buying international plane tickets for his significant other. So
But
uh
apparently they'd been dating for a whole year in some alternate universe.
that's true. That's very true. Well, so at the end of the day, Felicity does answer this question. She's like, she's reluctant to, but she's like, yeah, yeah, I think he'll be fine with it. And so Ruby's like, so you would do it if it were you? Felicity's like, yeah. And but she's like, but don't just like do what I say. And Ruby's like, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I love that line.
Yeah.
Oh, she
It's
was
like, are you
so
kidding?
funny.
That's why I came into this room.
Yeah,
Um,
she's so excited about it. But I also think in the back of Felicity's mind is she almost, like, well, Noel almost kissed her, and
yeah.
they've already kissed. So on the one hand, like, she is advising her to move forward with getting him this ticket. It probably should be refundable because,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a dick move to tell her to go buy a ticket when maybe she's taking her boyfriend away.
Yeah. I mean, what should she do differently in this situation, you think?
I just say, hey, get him a ticket that's refundable just in case he freaks out. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
or or just don't give an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Answer a question with a question, Be
Yeah.
like, What do you think he'd do for you?
Yeah.
What do you think he'd do?
Well, he'd give
What do
her
you
a
think?
Palm Pilot.
Yeah. All right then. So, but you're right. I think Felicity is thinking about all this and she's feeling agitated. So she storms into Epstein Bar looking for Noel,
Hmm.
finds him, sits down. Were you going to kiss me?
And what about Ruby?
Mm-hmm.
Our question.
Yeah. And you can see Noel is just as flustered. He's like, look, probably, I don't know. He later confirms it,
Yeah.
that he was going to kiss her if Elena hadn't walked in. But
And
he's being
Felicity,
pretty honest here about saying, like, look, I honestly don't know what to do right now. Things are just starting with Ruby. She's been gone for longer than we've been together. You and I have all this history, but I wasn't joking around about the motorcycle guy.
yeah, and he says he's a mess, and he is. Felicity says, "Look, I wouldn't have told you had I not thought you were sending me signals." And he fully admits, he's like, "Yeah, maybe I was sending you signals."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Wait, what?" And he's basically saying, in his saying, "I do want to try again.
Yeah.
I think I want to try again."
I think I might. Yeah.
Yeah. And Felicity is just like, "Oh, this is so bad. I am a terrible person. I'm her RA." And Noel just looks over and says, "I'm her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
But
both suck."
but I think I like that Felicity kind of slows it down here towards the end where she says, like, okay, wait, you said you're thinking about it.
Mhm.
And she's like, well, then maybe we just think about it.
Yeah, just let Ruby go out and buy the ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll just sit here and decide whether or not we're actually going to continue like cheating on her.
Yeah.
Cool.
But, here's the thing, like, as much as this is where it's landed for this moment with Felicity and Noel, Ruby's feeling all this. So the next time we see Ruby, she is going to
Well, so
confront Felicity.
first, doesn't first there's a scene where Felicity says that she has stopped having dreams. So now that
Mhm.
she's gotten it out in the open with Noel, she's stopped having the dreams, and she's heading out. She's got to go to her drawing final.
Yeah, and that happens really quickly because we're not going to see the actual final yet. Um, because we are going to get this confrontation first with Ruby and Felicity, where Ruby seeks out Felicity. She's freaking out and she's like, are you and Noel getting back together?
She says it 3 times without getting, well, twice without getting an answer.
Yeah. And she's putting context to it now, which I don't even really know that she should have to do that, but she's like, look, I mean, I care about Noel. Like, what's getting me through this movie shoot is the care packages, the sweet care packages that Noel sends me. But, I know that you two are close, but I tried to give him that plane ticket, and he's distant.
He doesn't know if he can go. And she sees him when he's talking about Felicity or talking to Felicity on the phone. And she just can't compete with Felicity. And to me, this entire scene is, at least Ruby's side of it, is just the song Jolene
Mm-hmm.
in dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Felicity is clearly Jolene, and Ruby is saying, Felicity, he's the only man for me. Like, please don't take my man. Like, you could
Mm-hmm.
take him if you wanted to. And here, at least, we get a response
Mm-hmm.
from the would-be Jolene, and she
Yeah.
says, "Look, you don't have to worry about me. We are just friends."
Yeah. And it's the conversation we never got between Felicity and Hannah,
Yeah,
right? And this is um and Felicity is going to draw that parallel for herself, which I think is part of what inspires her to say this, where she's like, you know what, it's complicated, but Noel and I are just friends. Which isn't a
yeah.
great answer if you're Ruby, let's be honest. But
Well, and I also don't know that it's true.
mhm.
So,
Felicity cannot control what Noel does or how he feels from this. Like Noel has been feeling these things for a while. Felicity saying that she feels them back has made Noel bolder and willing to do more overt things, but they've had a kiss. Like they Felicity to some extent can say, I'm going to put a stop to anything in the future. But she can't really control if
I
Noel
also don't,
feels stronger for Felicity than for Ruby.
yeah, and I also don't think Felicity can necessarily control her own feelings because I feel like this is another moment where Felicity feels empathy for someone
Mm-hmm.
and says or does something impulsive that
Mm-hmm.
she may not be able to back up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she feels Ruby's pain, and she feels how much she is just kind of getting by with Noel. She's been there, and she just wants to reassure her. She wants to do anything she can to make it better.
Yeah.
It, I don't get the sense that it is necessarily true because I just don't trust Felicity at this point because she does so many impulsive things.
Yeah. I will say, and this is not going to spoil you hard, but I will say, like, she does back off from
Okay.
here because she wants to let things play out with Ruby and Noel. Um, so what she's saying she will do, she does.
Then that's good.
Yeah.
I,
But
I
just give you a
appreciate that
little
about her.
faith in her here. But, you know, we're gonna there's still things that need to be resolved here with Noel, right? So they're going into their drawing final. And Felicity and Noel are in the classroom waiting for the class to start. Felicity, she says, I talked to Ruby. Look, she's worried, and it all sounded a little too familiar. It sounded the way I sounded last
Mhm.
year about Hannah. I think you should take the plane ticket.
Yep. And Noel seems to have come to that conclusion on his own. I don't feel like what Felicity says changed his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had already decided to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Felicity is Hannah. Felicity is Ben. I mean, is Felicity everybody here? Um, I mean, it is nice that she's becoming more, self-aware and having empathy for people. And I am glad that she backs up these words
Mm-hmm.
that she said to Ruby, because I don't know, Ruby is such a little, doe-eyed
Yeah.
deer running through the woods.
Yeah.
Uh, but I will say, like, in the middle of all of this, there is actually a final going on.
Yeah. Which now
So,
starts, and Professor Sherman puts their portraits of each other up. We haven't seen their self portraits. Um,
oh, I thought that is definitely the same one that Felicity has been drawing of Noel.
yeah. So I think what we're seeing here is a critique of their portraits of each other, but they were
Yes,
also supposed to do two self portraits.
yes,
But
yes.
I don't think we've ever seen those. And
No.
those aren't part of the critique today. But those two portraits are put up, and Professor Sherman gives a very kind critique. Um, she's like, "Look, there are some obvious problems here, but I think these two people really can see each other."
Hmm.
And that's what's coming through to me mostly in these portraits.
Yep. So Noel's thought that she was going to murder them does not come true.
Well,
And
not in that moment, right? But then Felicity's going to go
yeah,
up to Professor Sherman right after class, and she's like, "Thank you,
yeah.
your critique was generous." And Professor Sherman throws all the shade, and she says, "I was only critiquing the art, not the artist." Oof!
Yep.
Yipes.
Well, on the one hand, oof, but on the other hand, kind of a compliment for her art.
Yeah, I mean, her art stands on its own 2 feet, is what you might say here.
Yeah.
So okay, all's well that ends well with that art critique. And
Mhm.
now it's time to wrap up the episode and leave for the holidays. So Ruby's gonna leave a day before Noel and Felicity. She's Noel's putting her into a cab, Ruby, and you see him give her the bracelet, which I
Yeah.
think is a very significant choice.
So she gets two presents.
She does, and she gets even the
Neither
more
of
romantic
them,
one.
yeah, neither of them on Christmas, even though he's going to LA with her for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, we need to wrap up this story somehow, right? And this is how we're doing it. Um, so that happens. Yeah, to me, it is significant that he's now said, "All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit. I'm going to give her the more romantic gift. I'm taking the plane ticket. We're going to do the holiday together." Like he's making as much of a commitment as he's able to make with the opportunities that are in front of him right now. Um,
And yet,
yeah. So then we're going to see, look, Felicity and Noel are both going to leave the city the next day. They're going to fly out from two different airports, and so they're walking together in the snow. The snow is falling. They hail a cab. Noel says, "Okay, you get this first one." They get her ready to go into the cab, and they have a long, lingering look that turns into a kiss goodbye on the cheek.
yeah, it definitely is like they're looking at each other, and Noel is starting to lean in again, and Felicity is the one that stops it. She looks down, she breaks eye contact, and then she kind of reaches up and gives him a kiss on the cheek and, hops in the cab.
Yeah.
Also, can we just notice what is up with the giant, like, suitcase with no wheels or anything that Noel was trying to take home with him?
Yeah.
Like, why? Why? Like,
Hmm.
wheeling suitcases were a thing.
Not
Like,
everybody had them.
I understand,
I
but
had duffel bags.
which are so much easier to carry than that thing that he had.
Okay.
It was huge.
Hmm.
Um, so she hops in the cab and she shuts the door,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get this really nice shot from the outside of you can see her inside the cab, and you can just see Noel's reflection kind of right next to her in the window in the window of the cab.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really like that. I think she has a bit of a sad face, going on.
A little bit
Um,
pensive, sad.
yeah,
Yeah, a little bit. I, you know, what a weird place for this to land. Um,
yeah,
but
agree.
they've made decisions. They've, that's what they're doing. Um, and that's just kind of, well, that's where we leave these characters for the holiday break of the real holiday break that the show had. And we'll come back and, we have to open up more story, right? I mean, we've closed out a bunch of the major story points that we investigated the first half of this season, and we've got some new characters to meet and some, like you've said, we've kept these two camps of characters, of main characters, very separate, and we have to start finding ways to get them on the same show again. And so,
Yeah,
the second half of this season will do some of that heavy lifting for us.
yeah. Well,
uh,
I will be interested. I will be interested to see who comes into the show, and I mean, I've been waiting for the Felicity and Ben reckoning. So,
and there is a guest star. I guess this person, I guess she was a guest star. My I'm gonna maybe go out on a limb here and say my favorite non-Felicity Ben Noel character in the show is
And
coming in the second half of season 2.
wow,
I
Javier doesn't make top three.
no,
Oh,
this person, and it might be weird to you. I don't know. I'll just say Dr. Pavone. That's what I'm gonna say. For those of you who know exactly who I'm talking about, maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. Maybe it's like a more minor character than I have in my head. I just love that character. Um,
okay.
and so I really enjoy all the stuff with her. Um, and I really like season two's back, however many episodes. It's just I don't know. I find it interesting and compelling, but we'll see. We'll see what it feels like to dive deep into them, which I haven't done before. So
Except for episode 11.
it's so unfortunate that that falls early. Listen, guys, again, you know what? The thanks, Fish. This is a good opportunity for me to once again. There's still time,
Yeah.
listeners. I don't know what I'm going to say about Help for the Lovelorn. It's episode 11, 2 from now. Your feedback would be immensely helpful. Thank you. I'll share more about how to send in feedback as we get towards the end of this. But Fish, did you have anything you wanted to censor? Any lines from this episode you wanted to censor from episode 9?
I do. I
Ooh.
found two.
Okay.
So this is our lovely segment called What the Glove.
What the glove did they say?
Yep. And that's our lovely theme song,
Mm-hmm.
sung by Melissa.
Thank you.
Yep. Uh,
Pretty low budget here.
yeah, good. Very good. Um, so the
Look,
first
if a thumb cannot be a finger, my theme song doesn't have to be like a recorded fancy version for What the Glove. All right, guys.
All right,
All I'm
you
saying.
get that. You get that one. You may no longer use the thumb is not a finger excuse for other things. But we will accept that answer. Also, your singing is fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. So, What the Glove, WTG number 1, is between Felicity and Noel. And this is where she is, sharing her feelings with him. And so Felicity says, I want to grow up with you again. I don't even know how serious you and Ruby are, or even if you'd be interested in me.
Ooh.
If you weren't anyone else. And Noel says, oh my God, I'm reeling. I'm physically reeling. I can't really feel my.
Oh.
Yeah. So, what can't Noel feel, Melissa?
His arachnid. I don't know what just happened. It was the first thing that came to my mind. Arachnid. Get over yourself,
His
Melissa.
pet spider.
Yeah.
He can't feel his pet spider.
James.
James. Perfect.
Okay.
James the pet spider.
Yes.
We love that.
Uh-huh.
And again, the second one is Noel.
Mm-hmm.
And he's here talking about Bruce's technique. He says about Bruce, he was telling me about this technique where before you get close and stare deeply into the other person's eyes. Just a little tantric advice from Bruce there.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't really meant for art.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, Bruce, turns out creepy dream kisser, but amazing advice giver in real life.
That's the thing. Yeah. Well, that was the What the Club Did They Say segment. As always, thank you, Fish, for your fine work.
Yeah, and now we get to go to our favorite segment.
Yeah, after you listen to this tape, you have to erase it. This is where we hear all of our audience feedback. I've got like a few buckets of things here. The first is a very small bucket. I just look, I tried to do like on Instagram. I went out and I was like, let's eulogize Lucky, and almost nobody wanted to say anything about it. But we did have one thing. At
Oh, nobody.
felicity.fans says, Lucky the dog stresses me out. Gosh, poor Lucky.
Well, in all fairness, I could see that. I mean, I, I, no, let me rephrase that. Lucky plus Felicity stresses me out
Yeah.
because Felicity is not capable of taking care of Lucky. So that whole situation of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to take care of Lucky? Agreed.
Yeah.
Stressful.
It's a
And
lot.
then he what? Says his name is Charles and starts speaking French? I mean, that's just confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it's there's a
fair
lot.
enough.
Yeah. Oh man. Plus there was the hair, the fur before he got groomed by the vet somehow.
Yeah, and trying to make a vet groom your dog, like
That's a lot.
she got lucky with that. I
Yeah.
mean,
So we hear you,
well,
Felicity
that,
fans.
yeah.
Now, okay, so there's two other sort of actual proper buckets of things. One is there is a bit of feedback from Galena from her Noel treatise that there's so much stuff I can't mention yet, but I wanted to weave in a few things that feel relevant to this episode. But before we do that, we've had some feedback that I've been sitting on about Javier for a while. And the thing is, because we were ahead in recording our episodes before, when we got this feedback initially, it was already at the point where Javier had kind of exited for the season in season one. And so we just been waiting on it. But then, even though in this episode we didn't see Javier, the conversation came back up again on Instagram. And so I feel like this is a good time to bring it up because it's relevant for some conversations some of us have been having, but also because we have seen more Javier in season two. Um, at least, more since he moved to Spain in the back. Um, so this one's a put your thinking hat on, Fish, because this is a serious one. So at Daphne Lee Mylan says, I didn't realize that the actor who plays Javier put on the accent to play the character. I admit it made me feel somewhat uncomfortable to learn this. The thought, for example, of a white actor putting on an Asian accent would not be something I'd be okay with. Javier is Spanish, I think, from Spain. When first encountered, this is not clear, and the impression I got was that he was Latin American from an unspecified country. I won't pretend to know what Spanish or Latin American viewers would respond to the portrayal of Javier. I do wonder whether it borders on caricature, from the characterizations to the accent, to the appearance, to the mannerisms, which reference both racial and gay stereotypes. Just some food for thought. I do find him lovable, though I wonder about how others, especially Latin Americans and Spanish viewers, see him. Now, this came up again in recent days with some conversation and clarification with at insta.mickey, who was saying, okay, so Ian Gomez is from New York. He has a Puerto Rican background, but I don't mind either way. I love his accents. Uh, Daphne then responded again and said, of course, Ian Gomez has Latinx roots, so that makes it totally different. So this is we're kind of hovering all in the same area. I want to add a little piece of information to this. So in the ATX Festival 20-year reunion show for this show, they brought together pretty much all of the main characters from the show Felicity for an interview, like a maybe hour-long interview. And Ian Gomez was asked about where the inspiration for Javier came from. And he said, I was living in Hell's Kitchen. His mother was a social worker who was working with a variety of neighbors and people in the neighborhood. And he said one of the people that she was working with was these are his words, a 6'4", a 6'4" transvestite heroin addict who had this voice. and it was like really notable to him. And he based Javier's voice off of this real life person that he had known. And so that put a little bit of context. There was no country of origin given to that person's accent, but that was the inspiration for this. So I wanted to throw this over to you first, Fish, because I think we'll both have slightly different angles of how we think about this. But I wanted to get your take on it because a lot of people love Javier.
Yeah, and I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm. Me
I mean,
too.
he brings a lot of levity to the show, and it has been, you know, 20 years. So I don't know if in another 20 we're going to look back and think this is offensive. But, if you look back in time to something like Mickey Rourke playing, the Asian, Mickey Rooney, sorry, playing the, Asian characters. And, we do see that as highly offensive, and there wasn't a lot of representation. Obviously, there's still not enough representation in movies and TVs, and there certainly wasn't in the 90s. And so I do think there could have been an argument to have been made, was he not Latino? But he is. And this
Mm-hmm.
is this comes to, a couple of things. One, actors do accents all the time.
Yeah.
And so, if you have a white guy doing a British accent, it tends, like an American white guy doing a British accent or vice versa, tends not to be so much of an issue. Um, you can have people who look white and who are white. Like, I have a coworker of mine who has lived in Nicaragua for the last 25 years and raised
Mm-hmm.
his family there, got a bit of an accent. Um, so, I do think that that's part of it. But I think the conversations that we're having today, for me, go a little further than I'm comfortable going. For example, I think Natalie Wood
Mm-hmm.
playing a Puerto Rican in West
Mm-hmm.
Side Story, probably not the best casting call,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the fact that they had a Latina playing, that same part, but she wasn't Puerto Rican, I think might be splitting hairs a little too much. I mean, if you have to find the exact person, nationality, like, there's no more acting involved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. And the other part that I saw relatively recently was the Great British Baking Show had Mexican Week. And they did have some unfortunate costumes, which they always do. But they had this joke in there that, they're British, so it's two white British guys talking to each other. And they said, we better not make any jokes because we might, offend Mexican viewers. And the other one said, not even one. And I guess this like blew up all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not a funny joke, but I don't know that we can all be like super offended about everything.
Yeah.
So to me, this falls a bit into that category. I mean, he is Latino. He's a Latino being represented on TV. I would think that the gay community would have a much bigger reaction to Javier than would the Latino community.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. And actually, like a lot of the things you said are things that I wanted to point out as well. So I want to hold space for two different sides of this conversation. I I you know, representation does matter. And I think there's a lot to be said for seeing people who look or sound or represent what you represent on screen. And I know that there have been a lot of communities that have pushed for more and more of that to happen in casting. And then I do think that we get to a point where I feel like it takes so far when we start looking at this actor shouldn't have played this because they aren't, like, where colorism starts to come into play. This person isn't dark enough. This person is too light. This person, Crazy Rich Asians, I feel like there were some quandaries over that because even though they had like an all Asian cast, they didn't necessarily represent the countries that they were meant to be representing or that people wanted to see. And I think so there does come a point where it's like, wow, the rigorous level that we have to cast is it's really significant. But on the one hand, I want to hold space for this idea that people want to see representation of themselves and of what they believe the character is supposed to be on screen. I appreciate that. I agree with that. And then there's another part of me that holds a different idea, holds space for a different idea as well, the idea of creativity in art. And I think that the moment you start limiting what people can be creative and artistic about is also a problem. And I think we should be, from an artistic standpoint, able to explore things that are outside of who we are now. In fact, you kind of have to. If there's ever going to be growth, if there's ever going to be like an individual's expanding of their own horizons, they have to see things that are outside of their who they are right now. And so that would mean every actor is like, it would mean every role can only be cast by the person, you know, the exact person. And then I think about some of the great performances by actors, like, gosh, every, like, half of Meryl Streep's career would be things that we would be taking off the table for her, of like saying, no, you shouldn't be representing people who don't sound like you, like Sophie's Choice. It's hard for me to imagine another actress in that role, or like the level of expertise and genius that we've seen from some people who have really walked into another person's experience and tried to show us what that looked like. So I see both sides of this, right? Because I think I appreciate this idea that people want to be represented, and they should be. And I also appreciate the idea that limiting people's creativity to only what they know and have experienced is the opposite of creativity. And it's the opposite of what I want to think of as an artistic experience. And I don't know what the answer is to that. I'm just holding both space for both of those things at the same time and understanding that there might be a conflict there sometimes. And I understand why people bring up either side of this when they look at it. So I think about somebody like Ian Gomez playing Javier. I love the character. I love what that character brings to the show. And I'm not prepared to say whether Ian Gomez should or should not have been the person who did that. I don't think I don't feel that's for me to judge. And so I am going to enjoy what that character brought to the screen and give credit to the actor who played him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both coming down somewhere similar,
Yeah.
which is saying that it's a question now between I think what's what I'm looking for? Not gradations, but basically, how far do you go in casting?
Yeah.
And there probably isn't a one size fits all answer to that. I think different people are going to feel differently about it. And the best thing that can happen is that it opens up conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this has done. So I appreciate that comment.
Yeah, I did too. And I wanted to make sure we did it some justice here and spoke about it, because I know that Javier isn't in this episode, but because this conversation flared up again so recently, and we have seen more Javier stuff.
Mhm.
I felt like this was the time to bring it up again, and maybe it, as we see more and more from Javier, maybe it gives us more to consider. And as we see more from Javier, maybe more of you have thoughts about it that you want to share. Um, so so it's kind of opened up the way for that. But I did want to bring it back to one other, uh, a few different chunks of the Noel treatise, since that is relevant to this episode, from Galena. I'm just scrolling to find those specific ones. Okay, so there's a few different things. I was just taking little bites of this that felt relevant to this. First of all, Lena says, I love the mirroring of Noel and Felicity in season one's Thanksgiving, Noel and Felicity's kiss in season one's Thanksgiving episode. Their season one kiss was a buildup of tension, whereas their season two kiss was nostalgically understated. So they had kisses in both Thanksgiving episodes so far, and the impact of those things was wildly different. And I think it is interesting, like Galena said, to look at like the two different ones. So she's just saying how there's mirroring that's happening there.
Yeah.
Um,
Also note they weren't dating either time.
mm, in fact, Noel was pursuing somebody else, in both
Yeah.
situations.
So how could they have been dating for over a year? I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. So these two, I'll put these together. So when Felicity says she wants to date again, I think Noel realizes how much she affects him, but also how much she hurt him, and he doesn't think he can come back from that again. Hence the motorcycle analogy. I think Ruby for him is the safer, less complicated choice, and he knows it. I also think it demonstrates how much Felicity and Noel are thinkers, not actors, which is in direct contrast to Ben, who is all action. Felicity drawing the comparison to Ruby being the young, hopeful new interest is probably right, but I think it's a bit different because Felicity and Noel are still connected as friends, unlike Hannah and Noel. And lastly, she says, I love the quiet taxi drop off between Felicity and Noel, which I feel mirrors the original series finale or season one series finale. Oh no, where Noel waits for Felicity at the airport.
Yeah, another airport scene. I was thinking that
A lot
too.
of airport scenes that we have here.
I mean,
So
we don't get to see the airport this time, but
not
it's
not this
mentioned.
one. I kind of give a spoiler there by accident, but it doesn't really say a lot about what that actually looked like. But yeah, a lot of interesting things about their dynamic. The Ruby choice being the safer choice, which I think is interesting. Um, how Felicity and Noel are still friends. Hannah and Noel, Hannah kind of came out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
all of that stuff, I think, is stuff that is part of the dynamic they've built here.
Yeah, I also feel like when Noel says it's a completely different situation with you, it's because his feelings for Felicity are kind of special and continuing and
Mm.
sort of were above and beyond what he had with Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
It's borderline obsession. um,
Yeah.
as I said, it's like moth to a flame. They,
Mm-hmm.
he just can't stay away from her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's trying, and good luck to him. But when he gets near her, I don't know, something about those pheromones can't just can't not eat her face.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it is on a different level. And later in this series, he's going to question how healthy it is. And we might wish he were doing that already, to be honest. But I think it's probably that idea that's already kind of sitting with him now of like, I could get really, really hurt here. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm probably not going to get that hurt with Ruby. Might very well be something that he's actually thinking in this episode. Um, and because Ruby's back in this episode, he can sort of see it side by side too.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's really thinking if I'm not going to get really hurt with Ruby, maybe that means Ruby's the one who's going to get really hurt.
Mm.
Like take that extra step to say, like, if I'm not the one totally invested in this, probably means it's not going to work out if I'm not totally invested. And therefore, she's probably going to end up getting pretty hurt.
Yeah, that really doesn't seem to be a consideration for him at all here.
No, Ruby in general doesn't seem to be a consideration for Noel.
Uh, yeah, and you know, gosh, if you're Ruby, how many red flags must she be seeing at this point? Like,
Well, none. She's been away in LA with Tom Cruise getting little packages.
except for like Noel calling out Felicity's name while they're kissing, seeing them leaning in
Okay.
really close and
Yes.
talking, like even before she left.
Before she left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was still stuff that she wasn't sure about. And she's seeing enough in this episode where she comes to Felicity panicked, saying, "Are you getting back together? Like, are you two getting back together? Because he's being distant, and I know you're close, and he sounds different when he talks to you." She is seeing all this stuff, and what space is this occupying in her brain? It's like
I
she has a
mean,
journey to go on too here, this Ruby.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, she's a freshman,
Yeah,
and all of them in college, you know, I have done the same thing. Like, I started dating a guy who I knew had a crush on a friend of mine.
yeah,
Why did I do that? He was hot.
yeah.
I really liked him. And I had the conversation with my friend, and I was like, "Are you at all interested?" before I started dating him. And she was like, "No." And I had the conversation again with her later when it was getting more serious. I was like, "You sure you're not at all interested?" And she kept saying no. Like she came with us to his parents' house for
Oh
Thanksgiving.
boy.
Right, right. Red flag, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you'd think.
Yeah,
But yeah. So needless to say, that relationship didn't work out. But
yeah.
um I think we have to leave room for uh the impulsivity and the different um priorities
And sometimes you need
of
to see
college
this
students.
play out once before you're really ready to
Yeah.
spot those. Like she may be seeing red flags and deciding to ignore them. And sometimes we need that to happen in our lives and we need that to play out once badly. And then we're
Mhm.
like, oh, yeah. The good news is I did see those red flags. The bad news is I didn't pay attention to them. But next time, maybe I should.
Yeah.
Maybe I should consider what that
Just
might
one.
look like in the future and that it could play out the same way. So maybe that's what's happening for Ruby here. It seems like she is observing that there's a pretty close connection between Felicity and Noel, and she's overlooking it
Mhm.
and willing to move past it and maybe thinking that they can. And, we'll see how that goes for her. But right now, it feels to me like the relationship between Ruby and Noel is in no way under Ruby's control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to
But
say she should have full control over it. Nobody should have full control over the relationship, but she is like, she does not have agency, like in her relationship in the
I
way
mean,
that Felicity and Noel have had like strategic conversations about what Noel and Ruby should be doing. And it's just like, wow.
well, I she does go to Felicity
Mm-hmm.
and say basically like back off. And she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say it in that kind of way, but through her explanations
Mm-hmm.
and the way that she's questioning her, it's, as I said, it just really reminds me of Jolene, and that is like the exact perfect song for me to be like playing in my head. And So I think she does take some agency there. She takes
Mm-hmm.
agency in buying a plane ticket and inviting him to come to LA with her,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get him, he's away from Felicity. They're off on a vacation together. They're spending the holidays together out in LA, so I think she is trying, and you're only going to have control over yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have control over other people. It's just
Yeah.
not, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, she's, I don't know. I still feel like she's going along. She's still interested in the relationship for whatever reason. And, been there. I can't judge her.
Mm-hmm.
I have done the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I understand. I understand, Ruby. I
Yeah.
do.
That's fair. Well, shall we rate this episode?
Sure. Let's do that. You
Okay,
go first.
I will. So my unit of measurement for this one is thrown highlighters.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, you like
Wow.
that?
I like it. Like it a
Okay.
lot.
Um, okay. How many thrown highlighters? I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10. Just a flat 7 out of 10. It's a capable episode. It's solid. I liked it, but didn't love it. I think that it's wrapping up the first half of the season, and it's, I guess, helping us start on a new pace for the second half of the season when we get there. So it's important. But I don't know. On the one hand, like it's dealing with a really important thing, a really important main core relationship, and yet I also feel like it's done in sort of a glossed over way. Um, because at the end of the day, I know that we're heading into, like, Felicity is going to let things play out with Ruby and Noel the way, however they're going to play out. And so this is like a, like a one episode, sort of like okay, this is the conversations. Like, it is a little bit, it's there, but it's not, you're not going to see a ton of story build out of this one. And so I don't know, it feels a little bit like it's on an island, this episode for me.
Yeah. I think I felt pretty similar to you. Didn't get me really excited. Um, and I don't know, I guess some of the conversations were needed. I sort of wonder if we could just get rid of this one and kind of, put some tension around Felicity and Noel and let them have a conversation either in the episode before or a couple episodes after, and if it would be just fine. So I don't know that it's completely necessary, but I'll have to see the next 2 episodes, I guess, to really figure that out. So, it's going to get a middling rating from me for that. It does get a little bump for just Scott Speedman
Hmm.
because, hilarious. So I'm going to give it a 5.5.
Okay. Well, all right then. 5.5 it is. Making note of it on my official tracker, which is so official. I love it. Well, we would love to hear from you, listeners. What were your thoughts about? Okay, so first, everything you think so far in the show, your feedback, your questions, your things you want me to read on your behalf and help for the lovelorn, your Felicity fan art. You can send any of that to us at themelissafish@gmail.com. That's Melissa with one L, two S's, themelissafish@gmail.com. You can also find us and so many other wonderful people talking about Felicity at Felicity Podcast on Instagram. And then if you ever feel like, hey, it would be cool if I could just know when you're dropping new podcast episodes. Well, We send out a newsletter when we do, and you can sign up for that if you want to be informed. If you go to the show notes, wherever you're listening to this podcast, you look for the written stuff and then you look for the link for our MailChimp newsletter, you can sign up and find out about it. Also, and this is the second time in a row, Fish, if you feel like
Oh,
helping other
amazing.
Felicity fans find this podcast, go ahead, rate or review this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on. People will thank you.
Yes.
Whoever discovers it because of you, they may very well have you to thank.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And what are we doing next time? Well, next time, Fish, we've got great expectations.
Dun, 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 dun. Well, I have to admit, I'm not a huge Dickens fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to remember. That was the one about, I mean, I know it was a love story, and then was there like an old woman in a house
In a
for
wedding
some reason?
dress. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, like I'm kind of remembering this. Um,
That might get you a little bit off track.
yeah, I was gonna say it probably is just the words, Great Expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. We come back. Um, it's been 2 weeks, so Ruby's probably back. You said that Felicity backs off. So, I mean, my great expectation is that they start to bring the two groups together again.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to go with they. I don't have anything.
Okay. Okay.
They start to bring the two groups together, but I don't have like an expectation, like a reason why they would bring them together.
Okay. Well, we're just going to see how that plays out for you. But that's what Fish's great expectations are for the Great Expectations episode.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Well, anything else you wanted to say about portraits today, Fish?
Nope. I think we have covered it.
Okay, we did it. Well, until next time, Fish, don't hook up with Ben while I'm gone.
I'm a fish.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.